Okay, you shouldn't be seeing a square aura anymore. Okay, great, great. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for being here and just being here, right? That's what we want, to show up, just to be here, be together, and also be in your being. So, yeah, thanks everyone. And yeah, we can just begin with some questions. And feel free to, at any point, feel free to unmute your mic if you like, if you feel something from your own being that you would like to express, you'd like to talk about or contribute. Maybe I give an answer to a question, and very much so, everyone on this planet is sort of one hand of God, right? And even the greatest masters, one master can be absolutely excellent in one particular ray of thought, so to speak, and another one can understand things differently. So, for example, in the Gnostic teachings, it's taught that there are masters of medicine, masters of music, masters of force, masters of love. Right? Jesus is known to be a master of love. Masters of music are Mozart, Beethoven, who were also part of these kind of groups. Hermes Trismegistus, he's a master of medicine. So in the same way, you can feel free to contribute if you feel in your being, in your heart, that it's good to contribute something that maybe a dimension of thought that I may have missed that might help someone else with whatever they're exploring. I'm going to put this
Hello,
light on.
Gene.
I think it will be better. Hi. There we go.
Um,
A bit better.
I think I asked this question before, but I forgot the answer. So I read that Don John book, um, the
Don Juan, yeah.
Serpent Power. Yeah,
Yeah.
Don Juan, and uh, they talked about cultivating. There's energies to cultivate beyond this dimension. You have any thoughts on that?
Energies to cultivate beyond this dimension. Well, when we're cultivating energies, we are cultivating into another dimension. Yeah, we are, you know, if you reflect on what this earth is like, or more specifically, what humanity is like as a whole, and our unconscious self, it's like we're all tapped into, to explain it more simply with an analogy, we're all tapped into one TV show, right? And when you start tapping out into a different TV show beyond this collective consciousness, you could say, then you are then accessing different dimensions of consciousness. So, yeah, I would agree. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm.
Um. Also, they had this one part that was very interesting. The woman of the book, I believe she's a woman. She had this, I guess you could say, dreaming, which is basically astral projection, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
she,
In shamanic terminology, dreaming is usually used with a capital D, which means like it's not
mhm,
just regular dreaming; it's astral dreaming. Yeah.
and she saw this being that looked like a big snake, but it looked also masculine and feminine, and it basically gave her some of its energy. Does that happen when, I guess, at some point, or is it like, have you ever had experiences like that? I guess where entities gave you some of their energy, or do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say part of the main tools or purposes of astral projection is not just to have these, crazy cool experiences, but also to work energetically. It is a sort of energy work. The astral dimension is a part of our being. So, it away from the physical world of normality, of ordinary thought, ordinary way of being. When you're in the astral, you can encounter all sorts of beings, entities, parts of nature, also called elementals. So, even parts of vegetables or animals. I've given my example of meeting my cat in the astral, and she was actually
Mm.
like a big animal. And then, of course, you have the Gnostic teachings, which teach very specifically, look, the best parts or entities that you want to be working with are things like Kundalini, Divine Mother, Master Samael, the angels, things like that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'll, bacon, the bacon. I'll welcome to the group. I know you just joined. I'll answer your question. Just started this journey a few months ago. Well done on the path. Focusing on Kundalini, which is how I found you. Yep. Okay, doing mantras. Okay, so when you're doing mantras, your whole body sometimes starts shaking, wiggling. I feel like something is twisting inside my head. I try to just let it flow. Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's normal. Um, Not so much when you've been doing it for a while. So, a good thing to always try and just reflect on in those moments is, as a general rule, in all teachings, and what I'm saying to you is, in any practice, deep relaxation or profound relaxation is really, really, really important. The reason why we start to kind of shake, and I also believe this is the reason why we have vibrations when we come out of body, is because there is a sort of ego resistance. And especially when we're first starting, we're at such a low, as I've talked about in a few videos, quite harshly, like humanity is degenerate, right? I'm just trying to get people to understand the reality of our situation. We are in such a low, low, low vibration. And not just that, we're trapped in it and we don't know it, we don't understand it. So while we are in a very low energy, very low state of being, and then we suddenly work with like higher forces, higher things, um, we can start to experience that. But, and I would say generally it is sort of, this is just my opinion, my intuition. It generally it is the ego part of us that is shaking in a way. So it's always best just to always focus on deep and profound relaxation, totally relaxing the body before practice and also during the whole practice. Relax, relax, relax as much as you can. Sometimes when there's just so much we're realizing, so much energy, then it can be challenging, but it's a practice and you've only started a few months ago. So, yeah, I hope that helps. Just for those who aren't using microphones and I answer a question, just feel free to uh, type feedback to what I said, or if you don't say anything, that's fine too, if you are happy with the answer. But I know a lot of people like to get more specifics afterwards. Can you explain more on the surface of alcohol uh, and alcohol in particular? Can you maybe mm, clarify what you mean? What about alcohol? Luke, through my whole life, I always wanted to be famous, as many people do. Or maybe you were in a past life. Uh, I don't know why and what for. Do you think it's an ego of me to want that? can wanting can this wanting signify? Yeah, generally, all of our desires, all of our things, is just really a part of our ego. Now, you can, of course, if you follow your path, follow your intuition, you may become famous, right? You may be known. But it's really a matter of, are you following your being to do that? And what I mean by that is, in the process of you becoming famous, were you just thinking about being famous, or were you doing things that helped you to strive towards a goal or particular path with total non-conflict within, with total inner peace, total clarity, and total, following your passion and doing the things that you love. So, yeah, I would say that most successful people, successful in the sense of being successful, don't think about that. It doesn't cross their mind to be, I need to be, famous and things like that, right? So, yeah, yeah. Generally, it's ego, but that's okay. It's there, but you can just recognize it and move past it. I mean, if you're not going to be famous, then what's the point in sitting around thinking about to be famous? Yeah. Unless you have some life deep soul mission to be famous, then you can work with it. But this ego of pride or to be this desire to attain something would always be a challenge on the way to get there. Yeah. I can hear people shoveling snow outside, so I'm just going to close my window. Okay. So, let's see. Osh, how do you know if something is intuitively right for you? How do you know it's intuition? Yeah, good question. I would say intuition is, I would say it's a part of every level of our being, which means you've, so when you're thinking about something that's right for you, you first think about it, right? You think about it. Is it good for me? That's the first step. Is it good for me? Okay, and then you weigh out so many options with things in the world and on an intellectual level, right? But then you also have to combine that with your feelings about every single thought and every single life path that you want to proceed with in life. So this is how we become a calculated person, by meditating deeply, being patient, and using our emotions to calculate every single life path that we could take. And sometimes that might sound simple, but it's not, because sometimes in life, you may not know whether one thing is good for you. And the only way you're going to know is to actually do that thing. So maybe you try many, many things until you realize that all of those things weren't good for you. And then you choose, and then you do this one thing, because it's better to do than to think in general. But that's why it's also good to develop imagination, because good imagination means that you don't have to do it. You can really feel in your intuition whether it's going to be good for you. So it's on, you feel it on every level of your being. And also remember that the primary purpose of this life, what is the primary purpose of this life? It's to awaken our consciousness. So a lot of the time in our lives, we like to think or feel that we have a sense of purpose in our external world, in our job, in the person we marry, right? In the things that we do and that we identify with on a social level. And we can, when people ask that question, what do you do? And you say all these things and you feel that is you, but it's not, right? The deeper purpose behind anything we do is to awaken our consciousness. So even if you find something that you feel for perhaps 5 years of your life that you have real passion in, then that's fine. It might be good for you for 5 years, but it doesn't mean it's going to be there forever. So this is why the teachings on attachment, Buddhist teachings on attachment, is really important, right? I I'm doing YouTube right now, right? Because I just know in my intuition, I have this faith, I have this love that I really enjoy doing it. So many things, a lot of synchronicities have popped up, and I just do it. But I'm not attached to it. If my intuition, or you could say, I don't know if you're religious, but I don't like to use the terminology too much. But if God is telling you that you shouldn't be doing this anymore. If God tells me in a few years not to do YouTube, I'm not going to do it. So we should always follow that because that's the main purpose of our life, to awaken consciousness. So yeah, I hope that helps. Philip, I've got a question really. Okay. What is this eternal cosmic bliss we keep hearing? Is the reward of a completed spiritual life? Is it a sensation? No. Is it an emotion? No. I mean, sensations and emotions definitely help our intuition to discern uh, our path towards that cosmic bliss you're talking about. How would you describe it? Well, going to that eternal cosmic bliss is definitely not a simple thing. Anyone who teaches or believes in a very rigid way that it's just very simple probably has not understood the depths of what that really means. We're really multidimensional, right? We have so many layers, like an onion. We have so many things to discover about ourselves, and on the way, yes, we can have certain types of bliss, certain samadhi, right? We can have meditation, which is just so deep. We could have an astral experience, which just is beyond anything we've ever felt, but it's still not it. And when you try to describe it, and this connects to what Islam kind of, as a general rule, they say, don't paint pictures of God, right? Don't make an image of God. In the same way, we can't. In the same way, we can't describe it fully. That's why the most beautiful ways to describe that are. Sorry, I'm just muting people. The most beautiful ways to describe that have always been through art, through poetry, through sublime descriptions, and I could definitely go into just being like a singer or an artist and describe the majesty of God, let's say, But I'm I don't I don't feel it's part of my purpose to do that. So the best way is to walk the path yourself, to start comprehending oneself, to start finding that space of consciousness within yourself that is beyond your ordinary life content, right? Is it really worth spending lifetime seeking it? Well, that's why you're here. And you'll never know whether it's worth it unless you find it. Otherwise, it would be. Otherwise, why would you do it? You know, it's like watching a movie. Uh, if the movie was, imagine you went into a cinema and suddenly just, you know, it's like hallelujah, like just cosmic bliss of the scene, like, and then it's finished. It's very boring, isn't it? It's just not interesting. So our life is set up in a way that we have challenges, we have ordeals, we have many obstacles and things, and that's what makes it really beautiful. That we don't know what it is until we really begin to look or seek it or be it. Hi, Diana. I have a question. I have been trying to guide other people with my clients, recommending related with killing the ego, without naming it like that, because yeah. Like suggesting making an effort about not taking things personally, okay, because everyone are battling their own demons and things that they do are unconscious projections. Yeah, that's a helps people to understand compassion, right? But there are frequent misunderstandings between not taking things personally and not setting healthy boundaries. It's clearly different for me, but a bit. I'm a little stuck about explaining more about it, about the difference between not taking anything personally and not allowing people to hurt us. Mm, right. And you mean like teaching that, right? Teaching people to not be, or trying to show them to not take things personally and also not allow others to hurt them, right? Yeah. Well, I think, of course, the best way we can help others with that is also to access that part of our being, to integrate that part of our integrity, uh, and to live our life in accordance with what we're teaching too, because then we would be much better be able to transmit a frequency which they would understand then, and it would be much easier for you to, you know, describe it. Of course, it takes practice too, but yeah, I understand. I guess you could point out about, you know, it's about their responsibility to understand the pain that they're going through, and that, you know, what does not taking anything personally actually mean? You know, if one of you like insult me right now, then why would I take it personally? You know, do I think very highly of myself? Do I think that I don't know, better than other people? So I think the ultimate thing there is to realize, and it's, of course, it's very hard to teach that. The ultimate thing to realize is that if someone insults you and you're hurt, then ultimately it actually means that we're hurting ourselves, right? We feel angry, and that's what you're saying. Um, and I think that would really, I think rather than trying to teach it, or, you know, just if we outright say don't take things personally, right, we need to actually maybe ask the questions. And I think you're doing, you know, with clients, you can ask those questions too, like, why do you feel hurt? Yes, sometimes it's better, rather than teaching, sometimes it's better to ask a question so that the person can start to think for themselves and start to meditate for themselves. And you can ask the question, you know, why do you, what is it about that person that you find personal? Why are you in pain because of what they just said? And things like that. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that helps, but feel free to ask another question. ATM? Is there a guided meditation at some point? Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I wasn't planning to do one today, but we could if people want to. Let me just check the other chat. Okay, good, Bacon. I'm glad you liked the answer. Mm, okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to try and just tag some of you here. Namaste. Ooh, the Bacon. Jon Snow. Cyber. Cyber Blaze. Adelmis. Wondering. Okay. If you can type there, that would be easier. But I'll go through your questions anyway. You don't need to repeat your questions. Cyberblaze. What exactly are the Akashic records? How do you access them and read them? Also, can another person read someone's records? Yes, yeah. For example, if you, for example, if any of you wanted to come see me in the astral, if you wanted to, I've taught this before that in the astral, it's the only way you can really know a person's true colors. So if say you're talking to a spiritual teacher and you want to know what their true colors are, you can go into the astral and find them, see what they're like, right? For example, there was a person recently who I I'm saw in the astral. Well, there's quite a few people, but generally you can be shown what you're meant to be shown to just put your mind at ease, and in a way that is part of an akashic record. So akashic records are, and I wouldn't say a lot of people try to visualize like a library and with lots of books, and you could certainly have an experience like that. But more fundamentally, the astral is what connects the astral and the physical, and sort of how I described it in the chakra series, is that the akashic element, it's an element, it's a sort of dark matter that connects these dimensions. And it just really means that it is part of a dimension that is where time is accessible, right? There's no past, no future. It's eternal time. And then there is also space, which is there are no distance between things. You can go to different things. So Akashic Records just points to this nature of reality that is just like there is infinite information. But of course, only if we start to do practices, the most important one being to know how to connect to one's being, to have discernment of that, to start to practice and deepen the many ego patterns that keep our perception muddled up and fuzzy, right? Because until we dissolve that, then our perception of life in the physical and the astral will be very much a veil of illusion of our own ego, subjectivity, things like that. So that's the foundational work that we need to work on. And it doesn't mean we need to completely dissolve all of that. We can definitely have a lot of experiences on the way. Yeah. Okay, Adelmis, I've been experiencing some new voices in my head that are saying, he sees. Any idea what it could mean? Well, it could be just noise again from the clutter of the mind, but he sees sounds very profound, and it could also be whether it is the clutter of the mind, a part of your self ego that is trying to, a better ego that is trying to help you to on your path. It could mean that he sees sounds like he, right? The real being within you, the Father within, your inner divinity, God, right? He sees all of this, right? Your pure consciousness. Maybe you have to use your own intuition, just like astral projection experiences, meditation, spiritual experiences. You have to connect with your own intuition about it, and that can take it's takes a lot of effort, I would say, or just to just get up and do some meditation and to try and find some inner stillness, some inner silence, so that we can start to intuit directly intuit what these mean. It's like when we're in a dream. When we're in a dream, we don't really know what it means, right? And they can be absolutely bizarre, and it takes some effort in the morning to recall the experience, to write it down, and then to self-inquire, to meditate, reflect on the meanings. And you can get to a point, and in certain parts of your life, where you will intuit them immediately. You can be in the astral or a dream, you know what it means. You can be in meditation, see certain symbols, and know what it means. So that takes a lot of cultivation. Wondering, Akasha, I was wondering about your opinion of psychedelics. Instead of answering that question, because I have answered it quite a bit here, I'm just going to find where I said that in the past. I've wrote some useful things. They should be useful anyway. Psychedelics. I can't, for some reason, I can't do it on my Discord at the moment, but I'll link you to one message. But in Discord, if you go to the search bar and if you press from and then type gene and then type cannabis or psychedelics or drugs, then you'll see all the things in the past that I've said in this group about that topic. I think I've commented on it elaborately, like maybe 4 times. So you'll find things in the Discord history. Let me know if you can't find any. There's one there for you. That should help. Okay, does anyone want to ask a question in voice before I resume the text questions?
Hello. Yes, me.
Hi, Alban.
Good
Yes.
good day to you. Good day, everyone. I have a question about how do you do what your next step is?
How do you know what the next step in your path of life
Exactly.
is?
How do you know? Thank you.
Right. I think I answered that in a text channel somewhere. But in general, well, as I always say, follow your intuition, follow your being, but we don't know what that means, right? You'll have signs if you just pay attention. Maybe this part of your life right now uh, is not required for you to do so much, right? Often, what I find is, what I had in my own experience on my own path, is that when we're given time, or so let's say when God gives us space to be, to find ourselves, because of the compulsion of the mind, of the ego, to do, achieve. What do I do? Let's do this, let's do that, right? Yeah, often when we find ourselves in a space of where we're provided in an environment where we don't have to do so much, uh, we usually ask that question: what should I do? What should I do? When really, usually, those times when you have that space, that time, the best thing for you to do is to be, or in other words, to learn how to be. because only then can you start to really understand how to deepen your intuition and understand which path you have to take in life. Because imagine that you are, you're wondering what to do, and imagine that you don't connect with your being, you don't meditate, um, and you just get one random, spontaneous desire. I know so many people who are obsessed with business ideas, and they say, oh, we could do this, oh, we could do that, right? Oh, we could open this restaurant, we could sell these products, that will make a lot of money, that's really good. And some people, they just act on any random impulse and without meditating on it at all. So it's much, much better to have patience, right? I think the Sufi philosopher, the Islamic philosopher Rumi, he said that patience turns bitter grapes into sweet grapes. So I think that when you're in that part of your life, you're not sure what to do, better to just completely forget about, or try to just bring more awareness to this voice that says, "What should I do? What should I do?" Because if you're going to make a choice based on compulsion, based on, I'm not saying you're compulsive, but often that's the root of it, right? Like it almost causes a suffering. I don't know my purpose, right? Um, if we act on that, if we act, if we start a project from a place of compulsion, a place of not feeling our very best, from a state of desperation, like we are just empty, usually it's not going to plan out the way we would hope, or our ego would hope for the best. Better to get to know yourself. Try to just get rid of the chaos of the noise of the world, and start to help, try to be in your own being. You might need some solitude for this, right? Maybe you choose to go to a retreat or something like that, but it's better to be in your own being, and generate your own energy from within, like you're a uh, overflowing fountain. And then from that, whatever you then choose to do will be much more, you will do it in a much more detached way. And so you won't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. You won't feel like, oh, this is, you won't try to find purpose in the external world so much. And whatever you do, it will just be healthier. You'll probably make a better decision. And the way you do it, more importantly, the way you do it will be a lot more enriching, a lot more of a higher vibration, right? So to speak. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Wonderful answer.
Okay, good. I hope that, glad that helps. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, first of all, my question is, how are you doing? You've been moving a lot, and you're in a new space right now. So how are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, really good. It was, I would say, in my inner world, there was a lot of chaos coming to Canada. Uh, yeah, there was just so much to do, right, out in this external world. And now the past few weeks, especially, has been really like, everything's settling down. I can be more myself, and I feel a lot more balanced. So yeah, and I'm really enjoying the winter. My ego has always, growing up in the UK, I've always hated the winter because I just always felt so miserable. But here, it's actually quite pleasant, quite delightful. So I'm very much enjoying it. So yeah, thanks for asking.
Oh, that's great to hear. But my question was like, to be present, I don't need all this spiritual practices and all this astral projection, Kundalini yoga, or mantra or whatever. I don't need this. I am present. I'm always present. So then, what's the purpose of doing any of these practices if I am already present?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. And it's something that I wondered about for a while too. I think I spent at least like a few years of really just kind of asking that question, because I just enjoyed, I was so satisfied with life because I was so present, right? Like you're saying. Um, and I think there's one thing behind that, you know, that we have to be careful with when I'm not saying you're saying it from ego. I understand what you're saying totally. But the ego can say, I feel present, right? Who is the I that is speaking? Who is saying that? And so, what I mean by that is presence isn't something it's like fulfillment, it's done, it's like full stop. Still, you have your whole life ahead of you of many things that will play out externally and also internally, many challenges. So, if I would say, this is just my personal advice, if you're at a stage where you feel so present and you feel so satisfied that you don't want to do anything, then good. I would say just keep practicing deepening that. Do whatever you can to be present from moment to moment, because eventually, and this is sort of how divinity works or initiation works, is that when you start to transform and transmute your ego, you're really present every day. Eventually, it's like divinity recognizes that. And then they say, okay, this person is ready for a next level of being, a next stage of their own spiritual development. And that's when we say in the Gnostic teachings, we start to run into trials, start to run into ordeals. Because now you've basically said to divinity, I can stay present throughout anything. I'm great, you know? And absolutely. But then it's going to say, okay, can you stay present during this? If this happens, right? Things start to manifest. When you start to do that work, things change, things will shift and move around. Life gives you the opportunity to start to dissolve more. I don't want to use the word karma, but yeah, it's like karma. Certain things, you'll start to meet new people, start to be in certain new situations, and you have to be the one that assesses yourself as to can you really stay present during this ordeal, right? This trial that's happening. So, yeah, I would say stay patient and things will come. Life unfolds. It's very interesting. I wouldn't say that, it's just present and that's it. The reason why we deepen presence and why we become more intense into it is because of the challenges and the obstacles. And we can fall as well when new life challenges come. So, yeah, hope that helps.
So then the practices are like Samuel often talks about building solar bodies, and like in the Greek mythology, they have these armors and all these weapons. And it's like you practice to like build your arsenal to be more unwavering, so that
Hmm.
if a difficult situation hits you, you don't fall, but you stay strong and you can keep moving forward.
Yes, yes. And it might sound simple, but life knows you want to become enlightened, right? And life knows the things that are in your being, your vibration, that need chiseling away. And it will give you the adversities and the challenges that will give you the opportunity to see new parts of yourself that still need working on, still need integrating on. And then if you're successful with that, you meditate with it, you're patient, you do all the, you already know how to access your being. Then you start to become brighter and brighter and more like your gravity is stronger, right? It's like in the same way, I just get an intuition now about suns. in the solar systems. I'm not sure. Sorry, in the whole galaxies and space. I'm sure a lot of you have seen videos of comparing different suns to our sun, right? We think our sun is huge, right? Our sun is a being, a big being, but it's tiny compared to other beings, right? So just like how different masters, different spiritual beings have all a level of intensity, life gives you the opportunities to grow as a sun, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have a
Hello?
question, or no worries. I can wait. I can wait one.
Oh, yeah, can I go?
Yeah, sure.
First of all, thank you, just like for being able to speak to you. Like it's nice to be able to like speak directly. So I'm relatively new. I've been doing this for maybe 3 months, and I've been doing the daily meditations and everything. But I've been finding it very difficult, especially at night, like trying to lucid dream and astral project. I've been doing out of guided astral projection like videos, like while I'm sleeping to do like body asleep, mind awake, but I haven't found any success. I've even been trying the like Laras mantra, but I'm not really seeing any changes like I have with the meditation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And your question is more specifically about you would like to achieve some astral experiences, right? Or to
Yes, because I haven't been able to get anything at all. But like from meditation, I've been seeing changes in my life. Like
good. Yeah.
even though it hasn't been that long.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Um, are you remembering your dreams, at least?
Yes. I'm actually remembering quite a bit of dreams, but I'm never becoming lucid in them, which
Are you finding them
is a bit
helpful?
odd.
The dreams that you're having, like
My dreams are very odd. They're like just weird. They're very weird. But I always vividly remember them now, much more than before.
Okay. Yeah, I asked that because often when there's a thing about astral projection and dreams, and I'll probably cover it on the channel at some point. For example, when I was 18, I found astral projection. I didn't I didn't focus on the ego so much, and I was able to have these wild experiences. But then, when I started to really feel in my heart the necessity to change myself and to work on the ego, to transform, then I would have much less astral projection experiences. This is symbolized by when people go into initiation, they have a blindfold on. They have a blindfold on because they are they're it's symbolic that they're going into the darkness. So as you said, with meditation, you're going into the darkness, you're transforming, and you're really seeing changes. So often your dreams will reflect that. And if you still have this sense of purpose as you go to sleep, that you still want to discover yourself, you can even ask before you go to sleep. You can say, please show me what I'm meant to know. And then you can be revealed parts of your psyche, parts of your ego that will be really helpful for you in order to extract the consciousness from that bottled up thing within yourself that you're carrying within your person, and rise to a new level of being. So yeah, there's that aspect of why you may not be having experiences, because they may be very internal and very to help you with this work that you're working on. And then of course there's this aspect of, if you can see my hand here, this is the world, this is the psyche and the things that we're working on, and we can totally work on it a lot, but if we don't have this shining awareness on it, right, and live in this awareness rather than live in the change, then, because it's very easy to, when we see so much darkness, there's so much identity, and we get lost in this and trapped in all of this chaos of working in it. So shining this light or living in the light, living in the awareness can really help with that. So I would probably recommend practicing more the key of Sol from moment to moment. So with deeper meditation or with more advanced practitioners, they don't just have, a meditation once, twice, or 3 times a day. When they're not meditating, they will have some kind of way of being or practice or technique to still maintain their awareness from moment to moment, always. So a good practice for that is the key of Sol. I don't know, have you heard of that one? Key of Sol?
No, could you give a brief explanation?
Yeah, so I have a video for it. If anyone, I'll just explain it. If anyone wants to send him the video, that put it down in the voice text channel, that would be helpful. Key of Sol it's about developing your awareness. And at first, it feels like an intellectual exercise, but over time, it becomes very intuitive. So key of Sol, it means Sol stands for subject, object, location. And we're aspiring to split our awareness into those 3 stages. And this is just for any moment in your life. If you just want to feel present in a very precise way, this is very powerful. So subject, it means yourself, who you are, what is happening within. Am I working on my egos? Am I doing this internal work? Am I washing the dishes? How am I feeling about reality? All your thoughts, all your emotions, subject. Let your awareness be aware of this, who you are. Remember yourself, right? Subject. This is a very strenuous exercise, but over time, I can tell you it's really powerful. Subject. And then object. Object means the objects externally in our environment. What are we, and more fundamentally, what are we identified with? Right? So, for example, say you've been meditating every single day, 1 hour a day. Great. You've been doing it for a whole year, in fact. But one day, you walk down a street and you see in the shop window, an item that just completely takes over your fascination. You totally forget yourself, and you've lost you've lost your sense of divinity, right? Your inner being, because your awareness has been so trapped in this object. It might be a beautiful dress for a woman. It might be like an Xbox for a guy, or a car. So this is about objects. What things am I identified with? The deeper practice of this object part is also, what thoughts am I identified with? Because it's okay to have thoughts. It's okay. You can have many thoughts flying around, have many emotions, but what are we identified with? So objects, these are objects of consciousness. And it's sort of like our inner light has been bottled up. This is symbolic of Aladdin and the genie, right? The genie is the consciousness and he's trapped in the lamp. So because we've identified our consciousness with this lamp that we love, right? So objects, what are we identified with? And then location, it just means, where am I? Why am I here? And for what purpose? And what am I doing, right? So it's, where am I? Why am I here? How did I get here? Like today, now, if I do it now, okay, I woke up earlier, I had some breakfast, I had some meditation, I replied to some messages, and now I'm here in Discord, right? It's just, we can deepen that sense of awareness of why we are here, because often you'll find yourself in dreams, and it's good to reflect on dreams in this sense, that you can recall any dream. You can have, I think you said you have like bizarre dreams. Why didn't you know in those moments that you were walking on Mars next to a 20-foot elephant, right? So you weren't aware because you haven't trained your awareness to question it. So this questioning of reality is really important from moment to moment. And this awareness, when exercised thoroughly with a lot of effort, will totally spill out into your dreaming and astral experiences in your consciousness when you sleep at night. Okay, so yeah. Eventually, I know that's a lot, right? It's very technical, subject, object, location, but it's very powerful. And of course, through that, you can also, after you exercise yourself with subject, object, location, then you can do a jump, and yeah, see if you fly. If you fly, you're in the astral. If not, you're in the physical. You have to really, really question it. You can't just go in physical life and say, I could do a reality check, but I know it's the physical. No, you have to really question it and say, wait, it could be it could be in the physical. Because if you do that in a dream, you'll say to yourself, then oh, while in the dream, you'll just say, I know it's real life, but it's not. So yeah, you can do a jump, or you can do my favorite one that I teach a lot is hold your nose. If you can breathe through your nose, then if you can breathe through your nose while the nostrils are shut, then you're in the astral dimension. And then you can also contemplate before you do it, you can say, okay, what will I do if this is an astral experience? So eventually, I know it's a lot, but eventually you can then say, after practice, it doesn't have to be such an intellectual exercise. Over time, you can simply say to yourself, subject, let your awareness shine of yourself. Object, I know what my awareness is identified with. Location, I know where I am and where I know where I am and why I'm here. So, yeah. I hope that helps. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. That was really good. Just one small thing about the key of Sol. How often would you like try to do it as a technique? So like, would you do it, for example, every 5 minutes in your head, or would you do it like with longer intervals, or just like whenever you think about it?
When you begin, try to push yourself. Maybe I would say, I remember when I first started with lucid dreaming practices and reality checks, I found that around 6 times a day, 5 or 6 times a day is a good starting point. You can even get an app. There's some like lucid dreaming journal apps or reality check reminder apps. If you just put it into your phone, it will remind you to practice it. So I would say that's a good starting point, like 5, 6 times a day, and that's it. If you get into the habit of that, doing it every day for at least, let's say, 3 days or to a week, you'll definitely start to do it in your dreams. So as long as you have a good dream recall memory, because we can certainly have lucid dreams and astral projections and not remember them as well. So yeah, and eventually, as a practice, as a person, as a human being with your type of awareness, the idea is that hopefully over time it will become a more permanent way of being, that your awareness will be like that, always questioning and reflecting on life in a more balanced way, more contemplative way. In the Gnostic teachings, we call this the equilibrated man, someone who has their emotions balanced, intact, everything is good, the mind is good, everything is nice and balanced, and they're able to just be more generally a more aware person. So, yeah, and Key of Soul helps with that a lot, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to try and just go through some of the chat questions, actually. Oh, actually, I'll take. Who was it? Osh, you wanted to ask a question, right?
Yes. I actually wrote it down in the chat, but I thought I might just say it to you as well. Might be easier. I mean, I had an experience, a very, very profound experience last year, where I had intense vibrations, extremely intense. I think that was definitely when my mind shifted to believing that this is potentially real. Since then, I've never managed to get back to that. And I know you've said that vibration isn't always indicator that you're a good indicator. I guess it seems like any time that I get close to having, I'm trying to relax, going to bed, trying to relax, breathing, and then as soon as I start to feel myself, going into these altered states, getting close, it's like my heart automatically starts to beat faster,
Mm.
and I start to overthink. And this is, I found it very, very difficult for me to get over, because the more faster my heart is beating, and I'm trying to breathe, lower, but it's hard. I find it's harder to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just wondering what your advice is on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you?
Someone else did give me great advice. Just wanted your thoughts as well.
Okay. Yeah. Did they talk about the Guardian of the Threshold?
I don't think they did, but they just said,
Okay.
to embrace the fear and
Yes.
send
Yes.
send love to it, which I think is brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as you know, astral projection practice is synonymous with awakening of consciousness, and in order to awaken consciousness, we really have to do that ego work and see what's within us. And when we sense elements of fear, and we're overwhelmed by it, then it's an indicator that a little more work could be done, right? A little more effort, maybe longer meditation, in order to not run away from the fear, but just to simply have the courage to just sit with it, and you'll start to become stronger in your own being in that way. And I asked about the Guardian of the Threshold because I'll just send you I think a very, very helpful article that you'll like. This is by quite a scientifically minded or out of body experience author. The Guardian of the Threshold is actually a very esoteric or very occult term, but being who he is, very scientifically minded, he explains it in a way that is understandable for a logical mind. So it's really, I don't. Of course, I think I sense that you would say it is really physical sensation. You can really feel the heartbeat. If it is actually physical, because the Guardian of the Threshold can really make us feel that it is physical, but actually it's not. A lot of people,
I actually see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
I see what you're saying. That's a very
yeah,
good insight. Yeah.
yeah.
You're
So I
saying it
don't.
could be just my mind testing me to see
It
if I'm
can,
actually ready.
yes, it
Mm,
can be. It can be. Yeah.
yeah.
If
Because
you
I think
really do.
another, yeah.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah, if you really do feel it is physical, then really focus on just relaxation. But then again, if it's not, if it is this psychic illusion, um, still we need to practice relaxation anyway on a mental level too, and yeah, and to also just really have a sense of purpose and also a sense of faith. Not faith in like a religious sense, but really just you know just a faith that for whatever reason you can find that this will happen, and I know this will happen, and whatever obstacles there are, I will just totally annihilate them, like a warrior
mm,
with a sword. You just do it.
mm,
So but
yeah.
check out that article, it should be helpful.
Just quickly, just another insight that just came from me while listening to you as well is that I do this whenever I go to bed. So I don't do the wake up back to bed technique. This is just literally when I'm going to bed. I was
Right.
just wondering, maybe it's because my logical mind is so switched on. And maybe that's why those other techniques work well, because you've just woken up from sleep and you're in that sleepy state. Maybe you're not, as logically processed. Maybe that's why those techniques are better.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
no,
Yeah, while we're ideally we become masters straight away, and we can just have a whole day of out in the ordinary world and just like instantly just go into the astral. But usually because we do have a lot of life work to work on, spiritual work, internal work. We usually need a bit of sleep to process, to feel better, and just feel more balanced, right? And feel more okay with ourselves. So yeah, that's why it's good, the wake back to bed method, or yeah, or if you're really motivated, you can also set a timer to just wake up every 2 hours. That process of it's really hard because you can feel really lethargic and tired. But if you practice it, of just getting up, getting up, getting up throughout the whole night. Eventually, you'll just start to have a fresher mind, and yeah. But wake back to bed is a good place to start.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
No problem. Yeah, I'm gonna go through some chat questions and try to catch up. Sorry if I miss any questions. If I do, feel free to type it again and try to please tag me so that I can see it's highlighted for me. So just press the @ symbol, press Gene, and then I'll be able to see it. So 1 minute. Where was I? Okay. Namaste. I was told by a shaman that I have an ascended master. Yes, Master Zarathustra. I think that's how you say it. Can I meet him on the astral plane? Absolutely. All legitimate masters you can meet in the astral plane, especially if you really love that master, you follow their teachings, or you meditate on them or pray to them. Eventually, at some point, if you feel this love for them, this connection to them, yeah, you know, because the shaman says it, but what's more important is, do you feel it? Do you feel an intuitive connection? Then absolutely you can start to have some profound experiences with that being. Yeah. Let's see. Sky. Many times, even if I give someone a powerful aha moment, I'm left with a feeling of embarrassment or guilt for speaking so much about what I actually have little experience about. Okay. It's okay, you know, I think that while we don't have a lot of experience, I think it's okay to at least give, because the people you're talking to obviously usually don't have a lot of experience too. So while you don't have experience, it's fine to at least present to them different ideas, different concepts, and different ways of being that you believe with your own intuition as much as you can, that you feel is good and is that helps others. Yeah, it's okay to have. I mean, if you have feelings of guilt and embarrassment or shyness related to that, then I mean, that's another thing to meditate on, right? Another thing to integrate for yourself. But other than that, you know, it's okay. Yeah, I remember when I first started talking publicly, and I felt very shy, and in some parts, I guess, in my ego, there is some little dusty parts within myself that is still a bit like that. But at least, even if it exists, I recognize it as ego. And simply by recognizing ego, just knowing that it's not you, it's just ego, it's just your conditioning of the mind, then it lowers, it weakens the grip over your personality. By personality, I mean how you express yourself outwardly.
Hey, this is Sky. I appreciate that very much. That was exactly what I was looking for. Like every bit of it.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad that that's helpful. It's another practice, isn't it, to be able to speak our truth and not be so, not to say it in a mean way, because I'm in a way I've been mean to myself or firm to myself in this way, that it's a practice to say your truth and then also not be so caught up in your own story of what other people think of you. You know, it's really to say it in a very harsh way, and I don't mean it in a harsh way. It comes from our narcissistic tendencies, right? Of everyone. You know, when you go into a shop, I've noticed when people look at you, and you can observe it in yourself too. A lot of people are wondering, you know, what they think of you. You know, and everyone is going around in a shop or just anywhere, and everyone's thinking the same thing. Oh, what do these people think of me? What do they think of me? And so it's not good, yeah, to be caught up in that. It's better to just be yourself, be relaxed, and just recognize the ego for what it is. Yeah.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Okay. H Golds. Sometimes I feel confusion, trouble differentiating between detachment and enhedonia. I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to search that, or if anyone wants to tell me the definition. I don't think I've ever seen that word. Maybe I have. Ah, if you right click, if you highlight a word, right click, you can search with Google. Let me see. Anhedonia.
I think it means you can't feel. You can't feel things. You you are disconnected from your feelings or something like that.
Right, right. It refers
No,
to.
it's relating to
So
happiness. You don't feel happiness.
Hmm,
yeah, you can't experience feelings the
right.
way normally you would.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I'm learning things too. Refers to reduced ability to experience pleasure. Okay. Uh, it had. It has an important place in many aspects of psychopathology. Okay, so you're basically saying you're a psychopath. That's fine. I'm just joking. Yeah, but I understand the question. Yeah, trouble differentiating between detachment. Right, that's a really good question because it's very very deep. Like many things, okay. I think some of you may have heard that hope, the idea of hope. Some people like on YouTube, they try to advise people don't have hope. You know, hope is worthless, right? But we live in a world of duality. There's a sun and there's a moon. We have night, we have day. There's good, there's bad. We live in a world of duality. And it's the same with our concepts and our terminologies. There's always two meanings behind things. So it's the same with detachment. Many people can interpret detachment as escapism, as what's that word? Disassociation, right? Detachment is not that, right? We can we can start to understand this when, let's say, for example, there is a couple. They've been together for many years. One person in the couple is suffering so badly, really, really badly, and they really want to. They don't want to be in the relationship anymore. And the other person says, "No, you must stay with me because I love you, right? I love you so much. You have to stay with me." That's not love, right? Love is not attachment, right? So we can only truly love someone when we are totally detached, right? I I love my wife very much, very very much, right? But if she really feels in her heart that she has to leave, I'm not going to stop her at all. That's love. That's love, right? In the same way, uh, when we have when we are practicing detachment from life and not to be attached and identified to life, then we're not trapped in our own sort of ego interpretation of it. We don't have our own preferences, our own opinions. We only just start to see life for what it really is. So detachment just means to not be so caught up in things and to hold things and grab it as we want, you know? Detachment just means to accept reality, accept what is from moment to moment, even if it's good or bad. So yeah, but you're saying also the difference between detachment and this term and hedonia. So I would say that, let's say we're practicing detachment and we're eating ice cream. Just you have to be very careful, very precise, intelligent. You can analyze a little bit. How am I practicing detachment? You know, detachment is very simple. It doesn't mean that we don't enjoy life anymore. Actually, it means we enjoy it more. We're able to feel, we're able to experience life and things if you have an ice cream, you know, a person who isn't practicing detachment can have all sorts of ego relationships with this ice cream and say, oh, I shouldn't be eating it, there's guilt, there's all of this. But if we're just totally detached, allow reality to be, then we can start to just accept it for what it is. There is pleasure, there's sense pleasures, okay, because it's so sweet, it's enjoyable, and that's just that. We just leave it at that, right? We don't do anything more. We don't say, oh, I just want more of this, right? Because that leads to greed. We just allow things to come and go as it is. This relates to Tantra as well. I know H
Oh,
goals that. Oh, I know H goals that you've asked questions about Tantra as well, and it's the same with Tantra. You know, when you practice Tantra or alchemy, it's very much like Samael said it like this. It's
sorry, I had background. Oh no, everyone froze.
oh, can you hear
Oh
us?
dear. Yes, you're back.
Okay. Samael sort of described detachment or Tantra like this: that it's like you smell the apple, but you don't eat it. You know, it's just you don't take it in as a egoic gratification. You don't try to find some pleasure in it. Basically, it means detachment sort of means you've renounced being satisfied with the world, and you only want to be satisfied in your own being, your own divinity. So yeah, you said, as I'm working on gaining detachment, it sort of seems like life in general is flatter, less intense. Is this normal? Yeah, I would say that usually I don't give an answer that I try not to say yes or no. You know, I try to, but for this, I would say absolutely. Spiritual practice should not lead to that. It shouldn't lead to like flatter. I would say that is feelings of some kind of something in your psyche, some ego that thinks life should be that way, like flatter. It's very, very complicated. It's not very simple because maybe before the
No, I know,
spiritual.
or I wouldn't have asked the question.
Right, right. Because maybe before you came to the spiritual path, we have so many exciting things like watching so many movies, playing video games, having lots of sex, and we're so caught up in it all. And then when we find enlightenment, we'd like to think that enlightenment is like this big thing, but actually it's very simple. But when we first practice it, it is sort of flat, yes. But that flatness also kind of invokes a sort of suffering. So it helps you to understand, why do I perceive life as so flat? Because that part of ourself that perceives life as so flat, that's the reason why we have so many vices and addictions and lower ways of being, because we're trying to get rid of this flatness and boredomness. But reality is really not that way. You know, it really is. As you continue, we should eventually, ideally, be ascending into ecstasy and intensity in every moment, and that comes through all of these spiritual practices. To be grateful for my life, to be just grateful for the little things in my life, that I have food, that I have shelter, I have friends and family, and you can really start to have a lot of satisfaction in that, just to be, satisfied. But yeah, it's
Thanks.
okay. Okay, yeah, feel free to ask more questions, but I would say over time, I would just meditate with that. I know you're quite advanced, really, with the path. I know from your other questions and helping other people in the group, which I'm grateful for. So just keep going. I think it's just one stage, and different things will pop up. I think that this idea of life being flat, um, you'll find different emotions along the way, and I wouldn't keep practicing detachment, right? Okay, uh, life feels flat. Detach from that. That's, it's just another thought. It's just another feeling. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. Who's
Um,
Yep.
trying to
Oh,
remember my
Gigamesh.
question.
We can come back to it.
What are your experiences with the pineal gland? Like, how was it when you start feeling it activate? Did it shock you, or did it like help you see um like did it help you along your path in terms of like, okay, things are actually happening? Like, I'm just curious of your own personal experiences with it.
Mm. Honestly, I know I did the chakra series, but and I do still every now and then I still practice the mantras, the chakra mantras. But I don't focus on it like many people do. You know, studying the pineal gland, and it's absolutely fine. I just don't see that much utility in focusing on it as a concept, and trying to totally, yes, there are practices. You know, there's a Gnostic practice of look in the mirror and uh, visualize and see and feel a powerful light from your own inner being coming out from your pineal gland, right? Because it's just we want to have this sense of illumination on many levels of our being. But as a general rule, I mean, at least for me in my experience, I don't really focus on it so much as a concept. I just focus on the fundamentals of observing my awareness, right? Being aware of awareness, because that is working with the pineal gland. You know, when you
Hmm.
start working every day, all day, from moment to moment, and you literally, you can see things, you see thoughts, you can feel thoughts, um, you're and if you start to, instead of being controlled by them, you start to not control but become conscious of them, shine the light of your consciousness on them, you are starting to work with your active imagination, your active side of your imagination. And imagination is not really much different from the activity of the pineal gland. And then of course you start to have experiences, astral experiences, which of course you could never start to remember those experiences if your your pineal gland, the higher chakras, right, if they weren't developed. And then of course you can have meditation experiences where you start to see visuals and things like that. So it's a gradual thing. I wouldn't say yeah, many times I have felt like shocks or vibrations here, but I mean, they're just sensations, right? And there's not much utility
Hmm.
in getting caught up with them. Just continue your practice, and it absolutely does continue to develop. I find very much the mantra E, or any mantra in the Gnostic teachings that has this is very, it really does, for me at least, it vibrates this pineal pituitary cave within the middle of the brain. Yeah.
Just to add, because I used to have similar thoughts of like, I guess you say, I don't know, not really on the spiritual side, but just being like not really spiritual and having the blandness of reality. Until I started doing more spiritual things and trying to figure out the energetic, I guess you say, the spiritual sciences. That's when my pineal gland started activating. That's when life itself became more vibrant and intensified to the point where it's like it's almost too much. Like the remembering dreams, for example, like because when the pineal gland starts activating, you just start remembering all these dreams and all these occurrences, and definitely, as you said, with the imagination, meditating, being able to see like all these impressions. And I don't know if it's semi astral projecting, because sometimes, like, if I go into deep meditation, it will feel like I could be at a place and I just start like walking around, but then it dissolves. And I just find that it just becomes I don't know, it's like life itself becomes more of like, or become more like a child in a sense because I can't really, if that makes any sense,
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? Like becoming
Yeah.
more of like a child can't really comprehend all of what's actually happening that we can't perceive usually.
Yeah, absolutely. Life becomes more vivid, more lucid, and you can start to see everything. And I mentioned this, I think, somewhere in the chakra series about uh, this aspect of that people who are clairvoyant, you can be clairvoyant, but also unenlightened. So sometimes we can start to see so much, but not understand it. And if we don't understand it, it can also lead us astray, or it can make us more confused, or wonder too many things. So, again, as I talked about a lot, it was one of the main teachings in about learning about the chakras is we need balance, right? And that part of the body totally needs to be balanced with our expression of the throat, the love of the heart, the will of the solar plexus, the emotions, the root chakra of our physicality, sexuality, and things like that. And then, when everything is equilibrated, intuition starts to become more intuitive and intelligent because it's equilibrated with different parts of our being, different levels. So, yeah.
Hmm. I read that article you sent me, Glorian on glorian.org, about what is imagination, and they, I guess to shorten it, they said it's the luminescence of the soul. I was trying to see if you could elaborate.
Yeah. I mean, just think about, look at animals. They don't, some would argue they do, but they don't generally have this beautiful tool of the mind. Just think about what is imagination. Isn't it incredible that we have this dimension within ourselves that we're able to use imagination, live out anything we want in our own mind, and think amazing thoughts and concepts so beautiful, right? But what state are we in now? We're in a state where we totally we've just abused our imagination, right? We've bottled it up mostly in our conditioning, in the way that we feel, think, and experience life, ourselves, reality, other people. Our imagination is just totally. It's so abused to the point that most people don't even have imagination. They they can sort of have little imagination when they maybe like they driving somewhere, they have directions. But I mean, the worst type of abuse of imagination is like things like pornography, right? You're using such a huge amount of energy inside. You're looking at things, right? And even video games can do this too. And we're, it's putting it's working our imagination way too much. And when it comes to astral projection or using active or intuitive imagination for spirituality, we're left in a state that we're just so tired. That's why when we go into meditation at the beginning, we're like this, like we just fall asleep, and we're so weak. So it's really about finding this path of healing is understanding how we are using our imagination, the subconscious workings of it in many layers of our subconsciousness, and just being able to put it to a halt and sanctifying, purifying, and yeah, bringing our imagination to a state of purity. And if you do that, then it really starts to become more intuitive imagination rather than the fantasies of the many hundreds of fantasies of the ego. Yeah.
Another, I just want to see what you thought, because I had a thought of,
Okay.
I'm just curious what you think about this. But you
Okay.
know how our
There's a lot of
DNA can hold,
questions, but yeah.
like, you know how our like our DNA can hold like a insane amount of information, and then there, I guess you could say, how our brains can hold a certain amount of information. I don't know how much it is compared to DNA, but our consciousness at our current state can't really remember everything that we do. And, you know, we kind of have all these problems, even though our body's ability to maintain and utilize information is, astounding. So, do you think that's also because of our state of consciousness? Do you
Yes.
think that correlates?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, and I wouldn't say our consciousness doesn't remember anything. Our consciousness knows everything. You you have to we have to give thanks to where it's due, right?
Mm,
Our being, our inner being, our consciousness knows everything. It knows every single answer in the cosmos. It really does. It has this intelligence. It knows your past life. It has everything. But we are so caught up in ego, so much in darkness that we don't live in our consciousness. We live in
mhm,
in the big labyrinth of worlds upon complex worlds that we've created for ourselves that we just don't have access to it. So it kind of relates to what we were saying before about it's you can't really ever say I have become present because presence has infinite depth of being to it. So yeah, consciousness knows everything. It's just that the ego knows nothing. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I feel like that's like the greatest argument for that our individual consciousness in this state, like, there is a, let's say, a I guess you can say, a gap of information lost to, I guess, towards from our egos, because our bodies have so much information and it has to work in order to, for us to be. But, people destroy their bodies to kind of go against, their instincts and, their health and stuff. And it's kind of proves the individual consciousness in a sense, because how foolish it is
Mm.
in a
Yeah.
way. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to go through, try to get through these chat questions. I don't think there's too many more. And then I'll open up to voice again. Dean, my question is about the Kunda buffer. Okay. For those who don't know the Kunda buffer, it really just means ego, right? We have this tree of life. I've showed it on some of my videos. Kabbalah, right? We have the physical world, astral world, mental world, and this is a tree of life that we want to ascend to understand in ourselves. But the problem is we don't even live our physical world. So how can we ascend to the astral world if we don't live in the physical world, right? So as a general rule, to explain even simpler, as a general rule, if you want to access the fifth dimension of the astral dimension, you have to enjoy and live in the physical world. That means to be present, to be here, enjoying this world without the overwhelming cloud of things, of ego, of too many perceptions of subjectivity. Okay, so where do we live if we don't live in the physical world? We live in the Kunda buffer. This is a very Gnostic term, esoteric term. We live in the Kunda buffer, which actually means it's a tree of life. It's exactly the same as a tree of life, but it's inverted downwards. And this relates to the symbolism of, of why Satan, right? I'm not being trying to go into a religious, fanatical ideology by using that term, because I know it's a heavy term, but it relates to the symbolism of why Satan has a tail. So that's why Samael, he has a book called The Elimination of Satan's Tail. in very simple terms, it just means to eliminate ego, all those ego dimensional worlds that we live in, and finally start to live in the physical, the astral, to actually see reality. Because the Kunda buffer is just self-created. It's just a self-created attachments to ego things. Okay. Anyway, I'll continue a question. Are you still here? Yeah. Especially the thing that God made a mistake and that this is the reason we bit the forbidden fruit. Okay, I don't know too much. I don't think I can give such a profound insight, but what I will say is did God make a mistake? Or are we also God who made the mistake, right? Because God is within ourselves too. I really don't get why we have to suffer because of God, or let's say ourselves, right? I really don't get why we have to suffer because of God, and why there is no one big helping us, right? Again, try to move past the idea of something external out of you, and try to reflect on why isn't something helping us. When we start to help ourselves, it's our what a lot of New Age thought calls our higher self that comes to help us. It's our divinity, it's our consciousness. As I was just saying to Gigamesh, that our consciousness knows all, the power is there. It's just that we ourselves, it's our choice to where we live, right? So you said, why is no one coming to save us if we weren't the ones that made the mistake? I would say we made the mistake, absolutely. We are spiritual awakening implies responsibility. The more you awaken, the more responsibility you have as a person. You cannot awaken without responsibility. As long as you believe or feel that something external outside of you is responsible for our way of being, we're going to run into problems. Okay, so we have to understand that this is what we have done to ourselves. Yeah. And it's we don't have to believe that. The path reveals it. It absolutely reveals it. It reveals our attachments to those things. Now I don't know. I'm just talking intuitively here, with things that have helped me on my path. I don't know if that, because I know there are very, very deep certain thoughts and ideas that Samael writes about, that, you know, if we look into astrology, the different planets represent different parts of our being, like I'm doing the current zodiac. The heart is the center, is our heart, right? The moon is our subconsciousness, our past, our ego. So he also talks about there's a certain comet. My friend who wrote the Gnostic Method app, maybe that would, I think that would really, I think that would really help you with this question, because he wrote about this idea that Samael wrote about, of a part of the planet that Samael calls Lilith, once, many, many millions of years ago, split off from the Earth, and it's still orbiting somewhere in the solar system. Samael investigated this in the Astral, and he said that this Lilith it represents our sort of this Kunda buffer that you're talking about. So whether because of the planet did that and that caused us to resonate in a different frequency, a really difficult one where we sinned, then maybe it caused it. But I do believe it's a relationship, right? There's a saying that we have to meet God halfway, and we also have to meet Satan halfway. So if we want to ascend, we have to meet God halfway, which means we have to do some work and God will help us. If we fall, we have to meet the devil halfway, and then the devil will help us to fall. If you want to go that way, obviously, we shouldn't. So yeah, are we just unaware of the help? Yeah, we are unaware of the help. I would say when you start making efforts, divinity, just to talk in total astral esoteric terms, when you start to make the efforts, when you start to meet halfway to divinity, you will then be helped. You can't really, in a way, we're so trapped that we're too, it's hard for divinity to reach us. And the thing is, if we make no efforts and we're trapped, if divinity knows that if it comes to help us, we're just going to go back down because we haven't comprehended it. So what's the point in divinity helping us if we're not going to help ourselves, right? So, yeah, it will take me a little bit of time to find the document that I think you'll enjoy from the Gnostic method. I think it's just called the Comet. The Comet. I'll send it to Dean. I'll send it afterwards in this chat. But yeah, I feel alone in this battle. I feel left behind, even betrayed that this was done to us by God. Well, you can feel that way, yeah. And also remember that these are very deep ideas. Remember that we want gnosis. We want to experience the truth of this. And it's much better to not identify too much with these deep ideas. It's better to walk the path. It's better to say, okay, I honor this idea, but I don't know, right? If we want to know, we have to start to say, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Maybe, right? And now I'm cut off. Can't see if he's reaching for me. Well, I hope what I said helps a little bit. And I'll send you that. I'll send you that essay that he wrote. It's a PDF file. I think it will help. Okay, let's see. I think I'm way behind. Let me catch up. I'll try to answer a bit more quicker. Let's see. Is Hashpass still here? Let's see. You asked about a clip of this technique. I think Key of Soul, right? I think I already sent it you. Let's see. Let me just go to this other chat. Okay, good. Nothing there. Okay, ATM. ATM sounds like you sound like a cash machine. ATM. Lately in my meditations, I have trouble breathing deeply. My chest feels tight, constricted. Yeah, so important. I like almost everyone you meet, if you observe them, they're breathing like this. Right? Like the chest is constricted. They're just the most tense people. They're breathing into the neck, and there's just tension, and there's so much tension in the body. This is why we were talking about at the start of this, practicing deep, profound relaxation is going to help you a lot. Take a lot of time for yourself to begin to. In the latest meditation on ego, I walk you through a nice visualization, just very slowly, starting from the feet, relaxing every part of the body. We need deep relaxation. And the more ego you start, the more, the more mind clutter that you start to feel free from. The cause of tension in the body is ego, right? Ego is tension. So when we start to feel free from that, we also start to relax as well. So yeah, really important to cultivate what you're saying. I remember when I first started, I kind of basically had to force myself. You can do it now. Put your hands on your belly, and just when you breathe in through your nostrils, just push your belly out. Just try to get the belly to expand outwards, and also then the whole chest starts to expand as well. And when you do it, when you breathe in, hold it for like as long as you can if you're really determined, and just do that practice for like 5 times a day. for like a week. Really taking deep breaths and out through your mouth. You might start to feel lightheaded because your body isn't used to that much oxygen. You're just taking in this prana. If it's so difficult, because I know it is for so many people, you can instead of just breathing in like this, you can breathe in through one nose, through your nostril. Close one nose. There are, if you want to look on YouTube, there are alternate. It's called alternate nostril breathing. You can follow those. They can guide you, and just then you can breathe longer with more force. And as you do that over time, you'll start to feel that your nervous system is way more open, way more relaxed, way more. It has a lot more strength to it. So, yeah, just keep practicing. It will deepen. Yeah, your whole body will expand. You'll feel a lot better. Yeah. Okay, Leah. I'm new to the path. Okay, great. I want to get clarification about meditation. In that, what I get is that the ultimate goal is to attain quietness mentally. It's one goal. Yeah, definitely one of the first important ones. To attain inner silence, yeah. But then also comes serenity, blissfulness. You start to have intuition. You can have insights. You can also have, intellectual and emotional understanding of certain about yourself, about the world, about certain topics. If you're meditating on a certain topic, so how then would one meditate on an issue, right? So let's say, for example, you say you're having an argument, you keep running into an argument with a colleague at work, and you're just so sick of it. So now you start to do the work, the meditative work, of just not identifying with it. Because first you have to say, okay, I don't identify with this situation. I would like to see it with full clarity and objectivity. And then really, if you see my latest video on meditating on ego, you can also use that very same technique, just use it more intuitively and apply it to a problem, right? It's basically because when we are so caught up in an issue, a problem, if we're identified with it, we can't see it for what it is. I'm trying to... So say this mug is an issue, right? If we're identified with something, we're inside the mug and we're in darkness. We can't see. We're wondering, what is going on? Why am I experiencing so much darkness? Meditation is about coming out of the mug and seeing the form, the shape, the causes of why that's happened. And you just allow yourself to be in that space very deeply with a quiet mind, doing anything you can, whether it's practices of compassion or whatever, and then just seeing it for what it is, and then you'll start to get insights about it, because you don't need to think new thoughts. Your consciousness is always there, and it knows the answers because you've already had experience. It's just seeing a different... meditation allows you to see a different perspective of the problem that you're experiencing. So, yeah, just simply when you meditate on an issue, you simply reflect on it, but without the same narratives that go on in the ego. And this takes time and effort, because you have to observe what kind of thoughts you're having in relation to this. Why do you have that thought? And then eventually you might start to realize certain things like, wait a minute, it might be really deep. You might learn about yourself, like, I don't like this person. I have an ego of hate or anger because this person reminds me of my father, who used to abuse me in a certain way, right? You might, because you have conditioning there, right? So all the adversities we have, all the enemies we have valuable lessons for us. And, like the saying, goes. Love your enemy, right? Love thy neighbor as yourself. So they're reflections of yourself. So yeah, basically just you can start to understand certain things. Maybe if you reflect on the situation, maybe you said something to provoke someone and you didn't realize it would make them feel a negative way or something. So I hope that helps, possibly. Just feel free to ask more questions. Hey Jean, I feel a real connection with my guardian, who I've met in the astral. Great. Who has sent me lessons. Great. In the astral. I don't know if he's a master or not. So is it necessary to pursue a master such as Samael or keep my guardian connection to my guardian? Well, I would just say remain open. You know, as you know, I very much love the master Samael. I've had experiences, but more fundamentally, and this is what Master Samael taught, and this is what any genuine guardian, teacher, master will always, always tell you: follow your own being, right? We can have connections to many masters. That's okay, you know. You can have connections to many angels, masters, teachers, but the main thing is that they're all just trying to help you develop your real self, not your expression of your ego, but your real being within yourself. So I would say, sure, it's okay. You can have Samael, you can have your guardian, anyone that can help you. As I've been saying, we're sort of in a desperate state, so we need all the help we can get. I would say just remain open. There's no need to choose sides or anything like that. Play safe. I appreciate your call to arms. Oh, via text post on YouTube today. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. My question is, when we have similar impulses to fight against things we think are wrong, how do we know when to follow these impulses, even if it may result in our being punished? Well, just to clarify, my intention of that post was to, the main objective, the main goal of all this is to fight against ourselves, right? Often people who have expressed themselves or do things in the world that are very like fighting energy, maybe they were like a soldier or a warrior in a past life. And yeah, people, I know a lot of people who have this tendency to like always want to fight others, or they feel like a warrior. And I can totally admire them because they have this spiritual warrior spirit. But the true spiritual warrior doesn't fight anyone, right? It may, if your intuition, if your being says you must. But the primary purpose here is to fight against oneself, to deny oneself. That's the real work. Because often, if we don't fight or resolve certain conflicts or egos within ourselves, they manifest outwardly into enemies who start to have the ego battle externally. That's why it's so much better to take up this very hard psychological work, because once you start to disintegrate those parts of your being, comprehend them, those inner conflicts that you have, you will no longer be an attraction you will no longer resonate with other people who have that quality of ego that wants to argue. That's why I said, and it connects very nicely to the last question that I said about fighting with a colleague. Enemies and arguing with people really do help us. They have teachings for us. So, but you're asking, how do we know when to follow these impulses? Yeah, it takes a lot of meditation on that certain situation, following your emotions, your deeper feelings, and possibly on the way to that, it also takes. You'll probably, I find Master Samael said to live dangerously. And part of what I feel that means is also that in the path of life, we're going to make mistakes. Meditate on a thing. If you can't find the discernment as to whether to make this or that decision, just make a decision. And if you suffer a lot because of it, and if you don't feel happy in your heart because of it, you'll suffer. But that's okay. Remember the teaching of voluntary suffering. Voluntarily suffer. Because if you make a bad decision in life, like we all have many things, because we all suffer in our own ways, the suffering will teach us, at least. If you make the right decision, then your conscience will feel free, you'll feel lighter, right? This connects to Anubis, the heart on the scale. And you'll feel better and good. You have trained yourself to follow your intuition, and you said, right, now I know what intuition feels like because I felt to do this and I did it, and it led to a really positive outcome for myself and others. Ultimately, maybe there was fights between there, but the outcome in the end was everyone came to a better outcome, so to speak. So, yeah. And even if you make a wrong decision, you're still working towards developing this higher intuitive connection to your inner guidance. So it's okay to make mistakes. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh, I'm almost at last two questions, and then I'll open up to voice chat. Polly Lou, during my past, I changed my behavior in the last year and month in a good and strong way. I'm really grateful for all my experiences because I love my existence now. Really, very good, yeah. It's good to notice our progression and how we've changed and be grateful. It's really important that being grateful that we no longer are causing suffering, you know. But now, but some friends around me are confused about it. They knew me in a different way, right? Yeah, well, we have to recognize that other people are also, you know, have this ego, and other people, you know, they have an idea. Everyone forms an image of us as people. I know many people in my past who have a certain image, and if they met me now, they would be like, "Who are you? You are not the same person." So, yeah, how can I handle this in a good way, you asked? Well, I think that we just need a lot of compassion. And also to understand what we've gone through. Because I think that then it's one thing to change and another thing to actually psychologically understand how that has happened and how you got there. Because then you're able to communicate with your friends in a way that, of course, if you have this courage to speak your own truth, as we said earlier, then you'll be able to just communicate that to them in a way that helps them to understand that you've not really become a different person. You've just become more yourself, and that you're happier that way. And, well, if people don't like this new, higher, more refined, more intelligent, more virtuous version of yourself, and they're attached to another part of the deeper, darker part of yourself, then they're not really friends, right? Friends, real friends, will love you no matter what. No matter what. And they'll be happy for your change, happy for your transformation. Absolutely, they will be. So, yeah, I would say just have courage to be yourself, and that's that. And if people go in your life, usually other people will eventually come into your life who understand you better. Yeah. Hope that helps. And the last question before I just open up to voice chat. One thing from the bacon. Is he still here? Oh, the bacon isn't here. Oh, you are. Oh, yes, you are. One thing I have done, which I think helps me enjoy this world to a whole other level and appreciate it more and bring my ego down, is attempt to see God in everything. Absolutely, yeah. Because as far as I understand it, everything is God and everything comes from God, and thank Him for everything and anything I can think of when I remember to think about it, especially when I'm about to drink water. Good, yeah. I thank Him for giving me life through water. Great. Yeah, beautiful. Beautifully said. Absolutely. God is in everything, and most importantly, God is in all of us. As I said at the beginning of this, I think every kind of elevated master understands that in every person is an aspect of God. We're all, if you see my hand and imagine how many people are on the planet, like 7 billion people. If you imagine 7 billion fingers, we're all connected to the same God, right? And you can start to reflect on that in your daily life too. When you start to see synchronicity, or certain people start to tell you things. You know, for example, my YouTube videos, a lot of the time they're related to things that I'm going through. And I also see that people are asking me questions that are related to that thing too. And also people, friends or people, some of you can send me information that I say, oh, yeah, that totally makes sense now. Like, you know, so it's not that you have given me information. It's that God has given me information through you. So yeah, it's good to be grateful. Yeah, there's a teaching in the Bible somewhere about that. If it, I think Jesus said that, you know, if you choose the lowest seat, I will elevate you. If you choose the highest seat, if you choose to put yourself on a throne, you'll be humbled. In other words, that also means that, you know, what the Bible teaches that the most it's the best teaching for law of attraction, so to speak. What you're grateful for, you'll get more of, and what you're not grateful for, or what if you're just bitter about things, then things will be taken away from you. And also, there is a if you like blessing your food, that is a way to bless your food. You said, especially when you're about to drink water. Yeah, that's a way to bless food, right? Saying grace. There is also Gnostic practice of Eucharist as well, which you can do, where you get the grape juice, some bread, you can pray the Our Father. Doesn't apply to everyone, you know, only if you're open to it, and especially if you love the Christian thought. But we can apply this same thing to all other kind of religions and traditions, even scientifically, if we want to go that far. And yeah, you can put it on an altar, you can say the Our Father prayer, and you can, you know, do whatever and then eat it. You know, it helps. It really helps. There is a force that helps us, very much related to the experiment of Dr. Emoto, the Japanese scientist who had 2 bottles. I don't know if you've seen it. He has 2 glasses of water. 1 glass of water, he projects love, 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 love of God, whatever. And then the other one is hate, lots of hate. And then under the microscope, you can see the molecules. The water of love is so harmonious and beautiful and healing, and it's not dirty. And the other one is, it looks like chaos. You can search that online. So yeah, great. Would anyone like to? I've been speaking a lot, so if anyone wants to ask a question on the microphone, feel free.
Quick question. I don't know if you answered this in any of your videos, but what was your favorite astral projection experience?
I wouldn't say I have a favorite, to be honest. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say especially at this point, I don't really collect them, or, you know, I'm very conscious of the fact that I've shared those experiences publicly, and I try to just leave as much pride any elements of pride to do with that. So yeah, I don't. I put more value in my own path, my own awakening. Make sure that I stay on the path very firmly, and that's that. If more experiences come, which they do, then great. If they don't, then that's fine. But I think there is this level, this aspect of greed for experiences, greed for spiritual powers, and even greed. You can meditate. Everyone can meditate on this. Even greed for being in the present moment, greed for being in the being, and saying things like, "I love being in my being. I don't want to deal with the world and thoughts and challenges and problems," uh, and uh, and that's that. But that's not the way to go. We should just be grateful when we feel this higher sense of divinity, and when we don't have it, then we should also be okay with that too. Yeah.
Hey Jane, could I ask a question?
Yeah, of course. Hi, Hashpash.
Hi. Yeah, I messaged you recently, explaining sort of the challenges I'm having, I guess, setting
Yes.
energetic boundaries, because I told you I recently moved back and to LA, and just my life has in the past month and a half been very, very busy. So I'm wondering how, when you're around people or you have a particularly like busy day or weeks, how you like you maintain presence because you want to give the other person your attention and focus, while also uh, yeah, maintaining the energetic boundaries and listening to my own inner, I guess, voice and guidance. How do you balance the two when you find yourself overwhelmed in those
Yeah.
types of scenarios?
Yeah. Yeah. You might even notice sometimes if I'm navigating so many questions right now, talking to a lot of people. It's very important. I find it important to stay in my own being too, right? Not to be caught up in other people's labyrinths of thought structures and thought forms, and also not to be so caught up in my own past self of egos and things like that, and just to be in my own being. It definitely takes practice. That's the hardest thing. As I said just before, other people are reflections of us, and we can really learn a lot about ourselves through other people, particularly the reactions and emotions, especially the negative ones, that we feel about other people. For example, if we're walking down a street, we might even not interact with someone, but we may judge them. Why do we judge them? Why do we feel this ill feeling, this animosity towards other people? It might be to do with a plethora of things to do with our own psychology and conditioning. But yeah, more specifically about your question, staying present, it's difficult. It's difficult. And that's why having a practice, a real developing your heart, and really loving whatever you're doing to help you in this practice, right? Because a lot of the time in spiritual schools, and even on my videos, I give a lot of practices, a lot of tools, and the mind can say, yes, let's do all of these things and I'm going to be great, right? It kind of becomes a ego thing. And you can do so many practices, so many things in this approach, but it's so much better to maybe just choose a few that you really love. Do things that you love, and stay committed to yourself in that sense. And then when you speak to others, you'll be more grounded in yourself. But again, it is really difficult. The hardest people to stay present with is our own family, because have uh, they have the blueprints. They have the very strongest past with us of conditioning and trying to impose a past self on us because they have an idea of ourselves, right? This relates to the other question earlier. People have an idea of us, well, let's say our family, and they try to impose it on us. And if we're still attached to those old ideas, then we can be very much tempted or caught up in or trapped in those old patterns of ego behavior. So, yeah, I would say it's not easy, but it's a practice.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I'm being spiritually, I guess, challenged in new ways now because I've been a hermit essentially over the pandemic, and now that I'm putting myself out in the world, I think these tools and skills I've developed to, through your teachings and meditation and self inquiry, I think it's a protective thing as well, but I don't want it to feed in my ego. For instance, I could be getting coffee with a girlfriend and, I'm catching up with friends I haven't seen in years, and I'm finding myself like, as happy as I am to see them, I just don't care. I do not care about the things they have to share with me. And I feel this internal conflict or guilt about it. But, I'm sure it's a sign of maturing as well. But it makes me feel bad. Like I can't give myself to my friends and community and whatever in the most holistic loving way. And I can see what I messaged you about, the ego being really loud, like go hide in your room in your apartment and whatever, hide from the world, like there's so much darkness outside, and I'm grappling with that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. As I said at the beginning of this, our karma is our life, right? So everyone that's in it and the experiences that we have and the environment we have are the challenges in that moment. So definitely there is this rebellious spiritual part of ourselves that we need, that is really useful. It strengthens us to like not care anymore about this external world and the vanities. But then also all of the challenges do come and we have to face them. Maybe it's that yeah, sure, you don't care and you don't give much mind to it, and maybe you just naturally go away from those people. When you have friends or like kind of lower expression of friendship groups, we see them a lot. We spend a lot of time with them because our thoughts connect to them. But when you start not really thinking about them anymore, maybe your life just starts to shift and you start to do other things. You start to spend less time with them. That's fine. But maybe if you're in a position where you find it really difficult to get away from them, so to speak, maybe those people just need. Sometimes you have to do the opposite thing, give them more attention in a way. So this is what I'm not sure if you watched the video on the 3 factors of awakening consciousness. The third factor of sacrifice for others, right? So a good mantra, I would say, for that practice is whenever we find ourselves kind of being ignorant or not giving our attention to others, maybe when we should, or just kind of maybe judging them or whatever, we start to see these egos coming up, that's okay. Then it's good to maybe say, take inspiration from the path of the bodhisattva, right? To live for others. Because the more we live for others, the more we're not so self-involved anymore. So a good mantra is may all beings be happy, may all beings be blissful, may all beings be in peace. And then you can do the mantra Om 3 times. Do it mentally, of course. You look like a crazy person if you do it. You're meeting your ordinary friends and they're trying to talk to you, and you're saying it out loud. But if you do it mentally, it can just really remind you of just the higher aspects of the path, just to have compassion. And it just helps you to be just a bit more compassionate and keep it simple. Because anytime we have conflict with others and it provokes all of this ego, then it can be really, we start to get bogged down in ego too, and it creates this conflict, as you're saying. So lots of meditation, wishing others well, right? Because if we form negative feelings with others, that's still attachment, right? As I said before, detachment is a higher form of love for others. So, yeah.
Thank you. That helps me a lot, actually. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And good luck.
I will keep you posted. And hi, Mayoko.
Thanks. Yeah, she's got an eye infection. Poor Minoko. Mexi, you have a question in the other chat. Yeah. Okay. This may be a ridiculous question. Oh, what has happened here? Yeah. This may be a ridiculous question. I'm very curious. Do I have to sit in a specific position when meditating in order to get the full use of meditation? I find it most comfortable and easier to just cross my feet, like crossing applesauce. Do I have to put my hands in a certain position? Okay. I think in the beginning, and first of all, crossing your legs like a Buddha or the Buddhist way, the Eastern way, is absolutely not required at all. You can sit on a chair, it's fine. Definitely in the beginning, it's good to. I'm going to going to send you a video. It's good to be. Sorry, what am I saying? It's good to sit up. That's the most important thing. Sit up, spine straight, especially in the beginning when we're trying to cultivate this practice. That's what we want. Over time, as you become more advanced, as you really start to train your awareness from moment to moment, doing the key of soul, also doing practicing, cultivating your awareness as you sleep, as you get up in the middle of the night and meditate, and you have this ongoing awareness, you can also start to do some meditations lying down as well. But as a general rule, when you first begin, it's really powerful to just sit up straight, but also relaxed. I would advise putting something under your bum to support your back, because if you try to sit down in a cross-legged position and you have no back support, not back support, if you have nothing under your bum to sit on, then you can easily slouch. So you have to sit up, but also in a very relaxed way. Do progressive relaxation technique, whether it's visualization or just very simple. And I would do that for a while until you feel really confident with meditation. Yeah, and that's it really. And in the beginning, I would try to avoid using back support too. But over time, as you feel more advanced, you can start to use a recliner, you can start to use back support, but in the beginning, I think it's really important to start to sit up straight. You can use a chair, you don't have to, your hands can be in any position. Just remember that meditation is about exercise of awareness, our non-physical self. It's not about physical things, not about doing fancy mudras, going in certain positions. Totally fine to do that. They can certainly help, but the fundamental part is the exercise of your awareness. That's the most important thing. Your hands can be anywhere. It can be like this, right? You can put your right hand, you can rest your left hand over your right, kind of symbolic of the masculine part of ourself looks after and takes care of the feminine, right? You could also clasp your hands like this. You can rest them on your knees. Those three are usually the things that I do. Yeah. I'll send you a video on the Glorian website. Very, very helpful. I'll send it in the other. I'll send it in the same.
Observe your jaw.
Does he?
Thank you. Very helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. He does a relaxation exercise that's very very helpful too. It's like a guided relaxation. Okay, how long have we been going? Talking my socks off. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I would say like maybe 20 minutes more if anyone has more questions. Sorry, Minoko. Yeah, she's okay.
Something.
Hi,
I'm unmuted.
Oh, Geraldine, yeah, I think your microphone is very muffly.
Oh.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, I have. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
It's okay.
I was wondering in one of the videos where you explained an experience you have. You were walking somewhere and there was this woman who had the fight with addiction, and it was really like really emotional for her, and she and she was really struggling, and I think in the end she won that fight and she was okay. And my question is, so that happened on the astral plane, but was that actually a woman who had a body who is actually on the earth living, and this is kind of the astral, how it looked in the astral, what was happening in her life?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or yeah,
I don't know if there doesn't seem to be, unless I lack the skill and discernment, there doesn't seem to be any obvious sign of whether a soul has a physical body or not. I think we can reflect on this in the fact that when we die, and this is, from the Gnostic science, when we die, we lose the physical body and the vital body. All that is left is the astral body. So, I mean, nothing really changes, and I don't think there would be any strong indicator unless you have very good divine intuition that we can tell whether a person is has a physical body or not. Thinking about it now, my intuition says that this person does have a physical body, because I just feel that because in order to, and I hope people don't prod me about this or ask too many questions because I don't know really, but what I feel, my intuition says, is that we come into the physical world with a physical body to do all of this really deep work. Without a physical body, it's harder to do it. That's why we come, because we come to the physical, and nature gives us these energies to fight, to transform, to grow. And while we don't have a physical body, I think that our experiences in the astral and in the afterlife are a lot different, a lot more. It's more like a review of our life rather than an internal change. So, yeah, I think she had a physical body. Yeah, and I think I remember at the end of that, I remember making that mistake, right, of asking her. I'm not sure if it was a mistake, but I asked her that, what's your name? I want to, because part of that was I wanted to reach out to her in the physical world. So maybe a part of me knew she had a physical body, but the simple answer is I don't know. I feel like she did. Yeah.
So is everything like while we are embodied, does everything in our life have a reflection in the astral? So if someone is in the astral and is conscious, I don't know. So
yeah, I understand.
yeah.
Yeah. Do the things that we do in the physical reflect in the astral, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what, yeah. Yes, as a general rule, absolutely. and you can kind of see this, a lot of just like modern psychologists confirm that too with dreams, that it's a reflection of what we're doing, right? And often when you go into the astral and see unconscious people, they're just doing the same things that they do in waking life. But if a person starts to do a lot of internal spiritual change, then it's like, you know, the astral, it all starts to merge, and it starts to become this really symbolic, and you start to have these really vivid experiences. So yeah, absolutely. It works in a relationship. As I've often taught, when people wake up in a bad mood, or they make a sudden decision like, okay, I'm going to quit this job or have this divorce, most likely in the astral, they got some guidance, or had an experience that made them feel or convince them to do a certain thing or feel a certain way. So, in the same way, astral experiences can influence us, and we might not be conscious of it, but remember that our subconscious ego world conditions the way we think and what we do in physical life. So, the astral can affect us in that way, the physical waking world, and also the physical waking world can also affect our astral lives. So it's better to take charge of our life, do meditation, do the practices that we know we should do, and that will make a change in the astral world. Because unless we don't develop our own individual will, our willpower of our higher self, of our real being, then we're going to be conditioned and affected by the will of others, or the will of different of our environment, right? Our conditioning. Yeah. So remember that it's Tifereth on the Kabbalah, which is, that's above both the astral and the mental plane. So when we start to develop our own will and say, okay, my intuition is telling me to do this thing, then on that superior dimension of that will of God, right? Like in the Our Father prayer, thy will be done. When we start to do that, it starts to affect the lower dimensions, the mental plane, how you think, the astral, the physical. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I do have another question, if that's okay, Gene.
Yeah, of course.
It's kind of a maybe a deep one or a strange one,
As
but I guess it's
all
always been on my
questions are.
mind. I've always wondered since I've gotten into this is why does consciousness choose to go into other forms? Like specifically, why would it choose to go into the form of an animal? Why would it choose to, let's say, be a moon? Because I think, when I first started to get into this, I was wondering, it almost seems like everything's happening just for humans, just for humans to grow themselves. What about other alien species or animals or, a fox, something like that?
Mm.
No?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good, I think in the beginning of my path, that's something that helped me a lot to contemplate, that to not be so self-involved, and just look at a blade of grass or a flower or a bird and realize that your life, your life is no more significant than a flower, right? Because that is, and that's how you honor other people. That's how you honor the existence of other things in our life. So it's good to realize that we're no more significant than an animal having its life, or an insect having its life. As for the question more specifically, I don't know the ultimate answers to that, but luckily we have this beautiful thought, these teachings of gnosis. I'll get a diagram for you as well. It basically teaches that in order for a soul, what is the purpose of our life? It is to become gods. not in an egoic sense, but in the sense that to become a cosmo creator of this reality and to realize and understand why these galaxies and these things have become the way they become. Gnosis teaches that in order for the development of the soul, a soul, what it first does is it experiences itself as a mineral. That's one of the lowest levels of consciousness. And then it goes to the it goes to the plant kingdom. It experiences itself as like a tree or a flower or many flowers and trees, right? Many hundreds of years through that. And then eventually it becomes an animal or many animals, right? It can be different types of animals. So that really connects to our primal animal nature. Yeah. And then eventually, when it's ready, it incarnates as the highest expression of divinity, or you could say the very best microcosmic expression of the macrocosm, which is the human being, right? And we are, as it said, we're made in the image of God, made in the image of creation. That's why so many things of our body, like if you study the zodiac, I relate it to so many things, like the different planets, the different parts of the body. So as Samael in the Gnostic teachings very much rightly teaches, is that actually the human being is not a human being. It's just an animal, an intellectual animal, because it's not self-realized. It doesn't understand and integrate its divine nature. And so until then, we shouldn't, in Gnostic thought, we shouldn't call ourselves human beings. We should just call ourselves intellectual animals, because really the incarnation of this divine consciousness within us to have self-realization is when we can then be what we are sort of meant to be in a way. Yeah. But let me send you this diagram.
Thank you. Does it also assume then that we were once created as an offspring of consciousness? That at one point consciousness split itself up, and then so at one point in time, if time exists, we were born in consciousness, and then we started that incarnation process. Is that I'm just trying to understand, I guess.
Yeah, like we come from the source, like this consciousness source, right?
So we're sort of like a child growing and evolving.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right. It's like it's basically like our mother and father, not our physical mother and father, but the aspects of God, of, you know, you can relate it to the physical mother and father as an analogy, but we can also say in Gnostic thought, the divine mother and the divine father has given us everything we need, has given us the consciousness, the power. The problem is we've ran away and become a bad child. We've become an ungrateful child, a naughty child, and we use that consciousness, those powers, unconsciously to create a reality that is just not in alignment with our real purpose in life. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining.
Yeah. Here's the diagram as well. And if you want to look further into that, Glorian has some really wonderful. Oh gosh. There we go. Glorian has some really wonderful resources going really in depth about this, about the process of evolution, devolution, the reason why it happens. It also talks about different stages of humanity, of that in different heights of humanity in history. Ancient Egypt was just one cycle where we had an evolution and we came to the heights of our Egypt was one of those times, or also Atlantis, Lemuria, and then there's this devolution process. So at the moment, as you can probably guess, this cycle that we're in a devolution, right? So basically a different cycle always happens, and eventually, if you can believe it or not, dare I say, something in nature will happen which will recycle this humanity. And this is reflected in, what religious fanatical people talk about: doomsday, the apocalypse is coming, the end of the world. Well, according to Gnostic thought, this is also what will happen in order to create a new race, right? In order to create a new heaven and a new earth, as it's called. And for those humans who don't develop on this path, the teaching is that as long as you're on this path, you will be helped, guided towards that new earth. But those who don't go to that path, who aren't the chosen few, so to speak, those people will then just get recycled back into nature. It's not like that you just have eternal suffering in hell. You can go back to consciousness. This is a teaching. What happens to me, if I don't develop whatever? You go back to consciousness. Sure, you do go back to source, but you're not going to be awake. You're not going to be self-aware. You're not going to understand. You're not going to have self-knowledge. You're not going to have gnosis about it. And that's the purpose that we want. We want to know the mind of God. It's just more that you go back to source like a sleeping baby. So there's really good resources on Glorian website if you search like human history. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello, Jay.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I had a question about your heart chakra video.
Yeah.
At one point you say that we should let me see, what was the exact thing you said? You should, I mean, it was a third eye video actually. But you should, what was the exact way you said it? You want to use the third eye through the heart.
Okay.
Rather than the other way around.
Right.
Could you, expand on that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's because for everything that we say in almost any spiritual teachings, there's so many ways we can interpret it, right? And we can easily obscure any teachings. The intention really is that people just take what they intuitively interpret it as that is useful and just stay with that. So sometimes, I guess, when a teacher, let's say, is teaching something, sometimes the thought is so abstract and it may not be so intentional. But I'll give you my intention anyway, which is really just that let the heart dominate the mind. Let the heart dominate the ego. Don't let the mind dominate the heart's choices. So it just, I guess more simply, I'm expanding on that. Within the center of the heart is the center of our consciousness of pure awareness. And we should live there, because if we live there, then we can see our thoughts more clearly with detachment and not get lost in them and identified with them. Because then if we get lost in the brain, lost in the third eye of all these crazy perceptions and impressions of things, without the guidance of the heart, then we can just easily go down many paths, right? So in the Don Juan books, he says, it doesn't matter what path you take as long as you take a path with the heart, because all that matters at the end of your life is how much you developed your heart center and how much you grew from there. So does that make sense? And you can, maybe say what you found confusing about it as well.
Yeah, that does make sense, and that's
Mm.
what I was thinking. But yeah,
Yeah.
I guess the ways you would phrased it, I found confusing. I think actually the way you said it, I think was the upper chakras should rule the lower chakras, but the third eye is of course above the heart. So I found that confusing.
Oh yes, right, right. But I think I'm not sure if I did, but I also said somewhere that the heart is the center, right? The very center. So it's a very special one, very special one. Definitely, as I said, the higher ones should rule the lower ones, but the center, it's kind of, it's in the center. It's not higher or lower. It's the center of our being, the central point of our connection, right? So it's really not higher or lower. It's the equilibrium of both the lower and the higher, and it's that it helps guide us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. So then, say you are when you say you're in a non-dual state where I would guess you would say you're in your crown chakra. Then would speaking from that space, is your heart ever weeping the where your heart wants something different, but your higher non-dual self is saying something different? Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that we could see really beautiful realities with the higher one, because the higher chakras totally understand and comprehend and conceptualize beautiful ways of being, beautiful possibilities. It understands virtue. It it is a way to express that virtue. However, does that virtue, is that virtue, or are those realities right for you, right for your particular path, your particular life's purpose, and the way that you should live out your life? So that's what the heart. That's why I said the heart guides us and drives us to the right reality. So we can be totally have amazing virtues. For example, I could, if I wanted, without my heart, I could, I don't know, open a charity for uh, kids in Africa, and that's great, right? But I, me personally, I don't feel a sense of purpose or a sense of that I should do that. I don't feel huge passion in comparison to what I'm doing now, right? So that's what the heart can tell us. It's our intuition. It's the real being within us that can speak to us. And in Gnostic teachings, it's about the higher, or it's called the superior emotions of the heart center. Yeah, which can guide us when we're seeing all of these perceptions of the more divine faculties of the third eye and the crown chakra. Yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Would you say that anytime your heart comes alive, you should listen to it?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, without that, uh, without those deeper intuitive emotions and following our intuition, yeah, I mean, it's hard to make the right decisions and comprehend them at the same time and feel satisfied in doing those things. So, totally, any movements that we feel in the heart, we should totally meditate on it and act on our higher impulses. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask, a friend was asking about this today, so I wanted to ask you about it.
Sure.
She's having problems. She's getting stuck with anger, and she doesn't know what to do with it. She has anger, and she doesn't know how to process it. And she was asking me if there's any particular books or places I could direct her to deal with the pent up anger that she feels.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I think it's some people are probably tired of me recommending it, but uh, the Eckhart Tolle book. I'm not sure if she's heard of that. The Power of Now, and get the audio book. If she listens to that, he's one of the best teachers to. He just focuses on us getting in touch with this present moment of being in our being. And if we can really listen to that and really understand uh, what our being is and that it is reflective of our real self, then we can better recognize that things such as anger, ego of anger, is not uh, us. It's not us. And it really helps us to not identify with those psychological movements and just help us to observe it. Because all she really needs really is not to, I don't know, get a relaxing sauna or, uh, have a diet or do more exercise. Those things might help, but the most fundamental thing is self awareness, self observation, getting in touch with this awareness and applying it deeper within ourselves so that we can live in a place where we can recognize ego. Because if we can recognize it and at least accept that it is just ego and that's that, and it's not us, it's not myself, it's just a movement, like a foreign movement, then it's a lot more easier to move forward then and process it. And then, of course, I have a video, the meditation on ego. That's a very good technique, especially if you have a very strong ego with something. That technique I share in there is very powerful. It's like a analytical way to self-comprehend one's own psychology. And if you can do that meditation, because it guides you through reliving the thing that we've chosen, such as an ego of anger, letting it play out, but also staying in our being as we observe it, then we can see it for what it is. We can see the reality of it and not get so caught up in it. And simply by being able to observe it in a relaxed way without feeling overwhelmed is a great starting point. And it totally, if a person can get to just that point, it totally shows that that person will make progress in the future with it and start to grow and start to take intuitive steps, whether we get certain books or develop new habits to move forward from that. Yeah.
Interesting. I would have thought you would have said something about the solar plexus chakra and about how that needs to be released and you have to assert yourself, but you went straight to just present moment awareness, which is I didn't expect that.
Yeah, sure. You can, if she wants, you can focus on the solar plexus chakra. That's one of the things that can help. But I'm just trying to talk more fundamentally about, what really has to happen. And then from there, maybe she, because a lot of people can focus on the solar plexus chakra, but it might not necessarily help, right? The, the deeper work is self-comprehension, self-knowledge, right? That leads to the real awakening. Yeah.
Yes, but would you agree that some people are going to need to release some energy before they can get to that sense of uh, stillness where they have the ability to recognize the present moment as
Yeah.
to be present? Some people are so stuck in it seems like they're just bouncing off the walls inside their head.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really like dark and trapped in that, and they can't see out of the tunnel. But that ego kind of psychological work is releasing energy, because when in those moments when you relive a certain traumatic event, you can feel the energy in your body. And if you have the courage to muster the willpower to just get your ass in gear and sit down and just observe it, you are transforming energy. It is a very foundational type of energy work. But of course, yes, definitely. There are, I would say, there's two types of most profound or important aspects of meditation. We have to understand ourselves psychologically. That's a really important part. But as you're saying too, we also need to we also need to know how to just forget the ego for some moments, have some spiritual experiences, and experience this what is called in Buddhism the illuminating void, the great reality, the bliss of God, you know? So yeah, as you're saying, it's totally helpful. That was helpful for me when I was 18, had so much ego. But luckily I had so many spiritual experiences, both in waking life and in the astral, and it was such a source of inspiration for me. I wasn't like totally in like just because I had those experiences doesn't mean I'm a master. After it's like divinity just it's like God just shines a light and you see it and it's like yay, you know, and it just gives you inspiration to move forward. So yeah, it's a balance of both, of finding that inner peace and that stillness, and then also working with it to integrate and transform oneself psychologically too. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Gene.
yeah, no problem. Good question. Okay. Well, I can still take a last couple of questions if anyone has any.
I did have one more if there's no one else who wants to ask a question.
Sure, yeah.
Kundalini. So you talk about it a good amount on your channel, but awakening Kundalini, from what I'm seeing online from a lot of YouTubers, can be a pretty intense experience, and I haven't really seen you talk about that side of it quite yet, the dark side of awakening Kundalini.
Mm, yeah.
Was that dark for you, and what did that look like?
Yeah, I did talk about it at some point. And I am also, so I'm finally getting to that book on the chakras in order to clarify all of that. But you will find that the book is not in alignment with most of what you will find on Kundalini. And I was writing the other day, I was saying that one of the main motivations for writing this book is the feeling of justice for how humanity has obscured and totally destroyed the pure reality of what Kundalini is. And I did say somewhere in the chakras about the negative. You have to really meditate deeply about this because a lot of people would react to those people who've spent many hours understanding Kundalini in that way. We have to understand that the negative experiences that we have from these so-called Kundalini experiences are not Kundalini. It's not Kundalini. It's ego. It's the experience, it's the direct experience of your own ego. Yes, perhaps there are certain Kundalini energies involved there, which she is sort of showing you what you are. But the main problem, the main source of that is one's own ego, one's own darkness. And when person goes into nightmare and they have these negative experiences that you hear about, it is because of their own suffering, their lack of consciousness, lack of enlightenment, and really that's that. And especially when you mix that with psychedelics, because that's just not what you want to do. Psychedelics just activate the ego, quite bluntly. So yeah, that's the main thing. In order to understand that as well a bit deeper, is that Kundalini is just a pure divine consciousness. It's the same as the Divine Mother, Isis, this divine feminine void principle within creation. And so when we start to get in touch with that kind of energy, whether there are, you see, the way I teach it, and I'm just coming from the Gnostic tradition, the way I teach it is that the practices that I'm teaching, that I'm passing on, should not and will not, you should not be having any of those kind of dark ego experiences. It should be a very, very gradual experience. If there is really hard and experiences, again, it's because of one's own ego, to be honest. So yeah, when we're really in touch with this energy, it's just, I just find it a shame that a lot of these people are associating it with this kind of these negative feelings and emotions, when actually it's a very soft and very subtle, and you have to be very intelligent and to be able to discern that type of energy. And also in the astral, then that energy can also come in the form of feminine, divine mother, or serpent, whatever symbols that come to us, and start to talk to us, start to give us messages. So I think it's really important to honor that energy as what it is. It's very powerful, yes, and it can totally overwhelm us, but we only get overwhelmed because of our state of consciousness, and we get confused, and so we should really take our path step by step, do the work on the ego, recognize when one is making oneself suffer. Don't blame it on that it is, Kundalini energy. And just, it takes a lot of meditation to understand how to navigate in a very safe and intelligent and grounded and balanced way. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, it helps. I get a better idea of where you're at. Uh, so many more questions popped in my head while you were talking. um,
Yeah.
are you familiar with Aubrey Marcus at all?
Who?
Aubrey Marcus, the podcaster.
No.
Okay, I've seen him mention a little bit in the chat for people who follow you, but
Okay.
he's a very heavy user of psychedelics. But I also find him to be pretty well tuned in,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
so I find that interesting. Like it would seem like he should have a lot of ego, but he seems like a very earnest guy. And I've met him actually, and I feel that off of him. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Psychedelics get people into a different state of perception where we can have just totally tuned into incredible things. I like Terence McKenna, for example. I'm sure you know him. He's just a wonderful human being who had shared really insightful things. But the problem is, we don't want to, if you want to do this deeper work, there is a higher path of following this path of gnosis, of developing the astral body. Yeah, you may have not, gone down this path, or this path of thought, or teachings, but there is a way to start to develop one's astral body, start to live from moment to moment, right? And a person can have a wonderful ego. They can be a beautiful spiritual teacher, absolutely perfect, and they can still have ego. The depths of uncovering and overcoming and transcending and dissolving ego is really, really deep. And it's really painful as well. I mean, in the not it's just painful in the sense that it's just difficult to do. And so using psychedelics along with that, a person will understand that it's not helping, it's blocking them totally. You can use them like once or twice, maybe 3 times. I've taken them before, absolutely. When I was in university, I had, very insightful experiences. But if you start to use them as a crutch, I mean, you're just you've got an attachment to this physical world, and as long as you do that, you'll have great insights, really good things to say that most people don't, because they're stuck in this other world. It's like that everyone else is tuned into this one TV channel, and until you take psychedelics, you then go into these really cool other TV shows. However, uh, the real awakening of consciousness means that we just turn off the TV altogether. And so as long as you're taking psychedelics on this path, you'll be having these great, cool ideas, insights, and things like that. But you'll still be attached in a sensory way to the material world, and you won't comprehend what it means to live internally. Real initiates of consciousness, real masters, don't live in the physical world. They live in the inner worlds. So I know it's quite a lot, what I'm saying, or quite out there, I would say, compared to
No,
the
it
idea. Yeah,
it lands.
yeah,
I would agree,
yeah.
but I'm not sure I agree that psychedelics don't have a place. They may have a place at the very beginning of someone's spiritual journey, especially now. Like,
Yes.
like you said, we need all the help we can get. Um, and so maybe like, have like when you do awaken to the alternate states of consciousness, that's when you stop. Like, when you get the message, hang up the phone and then just do the spiritual
Yeah,
practices. Just
absolutely.
meditate.
Yeah.
But I find it's been helpful for friends who like just are totally muted out to the energetic world. Like they get the psychedelics and they're like, okay, I get it. And then I would say just meditate after that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think, I don't agree. I totally agree. And I think there can be some ineffectiveness sometimes on my part when, teaching these things, because I really am just so committed in a very intense way to the harder route, right? Not taking these shortcuts and actually understanding, right? Because it's one thing to take a psychedelic, have these crazy experiences, and it's another thing to actually comprehend them too. And it's very difficult to comprehend it when we are in an intoxicated sort of mind. It is a sort of kind of hypnosis, even though that hypnosis is can be absolutely incredible, and show us new perspectives. It is still a sort of intoxication. So, real, genuine awakening in the long term, of course, is about sobering up, waking up, right? This is why we say awakening of consciousness. We don't want to sleep. We don't want to be intoxicated. It's actually a lot more simple. But yes, I totally agree that it does have a place. I feel definitely, for people, and I think I've said that if you in this Discord, if you type in the search bar, if you just put from Gene and then put psychedelics and cannabis, I've also said similar things to what you said as well. Yeah. I give like an analogy that psychedelics is like going is like getting on a really crazy space rocket, and the space rocket just lunges you out into the galaxy, and then you're going really fast. You don't know where it's going, but you're enjoying the ride. Because I've taken LSD, mushrooms, cannabis in my when I was like 19, 20, and yeah, it's like you go into this crazy ride, and then you crash land, and then you just like, whew, that was a lot. I just crash landed. The real path. I don't want to say real. I don't want to sound like superior, but the longer, more rewarding path for one's own soul, for this life and for other lives, like going ahead into your afterlife as well, is it's about building your own rocket ship, knowing how each part works, going in the driver's seat and driving very calmly and going to the planets that you want to go or are guided through divine intuition. So, I just say that I just answered you very passionately before because I just know that, I've taken all of these psychedelics, and at this point, if I take them now, absolutely, I would feel I would feel at a lower level of being. I would feel, I would feel cut off from my intuition, and I would feel unbalanced. So, and I know from many experiences that I've had without psychedelics that I've had such more sublime, divine experiences, both in the waking and out of body experiences without psychedelics. And just for the record, I've never had, during those, I think, a couple of years I took psychedelics, I've never had an out of body experience with by using those things. So, yeah, totally agree with what you said. But that's my other perspective too.
Yeah, and I agree with that perspective as well. I've experienced going backwards, it would seem, after doing psychedelics again. It would seem like it went backwards in my spiritual progress.
Right.
So I would echo that as well. But I'm also in the position of recommending them for people who are just totally new to spirituality. So I'm
Sure.
not really using, and I'm also just recommending. So it's interesting position I'm in.
Yes, I've met some people that are they're just so stuck in this one linear reality that I'm just like, you just need something to like open your mind to something else, so you can stop feeding this one ego narrative of this one reality, So, yeah.
Nice. Thanks for doing this today. I always enjoy these.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you for those that those perspectives and reminding me of that too. Okay, I'll take a few more.
I have one question actually.
Okay, sure, yeah.
You said earlier about that woman you met in the astral plane, and you said that asking her name was like maybe a mistake or something. And I had someone a while ago tell me that asking like a spirit's name or something was a mistake. And I want to know why that was.
Sorry, what was the last part? Someone said
I wanted
something?
to know why you said it was a mistake to like ask for
Oh,
their name or something.
oh, I thought it was a mistake, possibly,
Oh, okay.
Because I got pulled out from the experience. In that moment when I said, what's your name? I'd like to share this story on my YouTube channel. And she
See.
started to say something. It started to muffle, and then I started to go back into my body. So that's when I thought, oh, I probably shouldn't have. In her vibration, there probably wasn't the permission to give her name or share it with others. So, there's this kind of divine mechanism, I guess you could say, that stops certain things from happening if they're not meant to happen. Yeah.
Okay. The reason I asked that is I once had a bit of an experience a while ago, and I had someone like turn up in my room, and I kind of said what are you or who are you? And the person I've been speaking to about this kind of stuff, they said that you shouldn't ask like a spirit their name. And that was like the first thing I did when I like felt this thing come into my room. So I kind of wondered why that was like a mistake as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Usually spirits or guides or teachers, they can tell us their name. So I don't know. It's a very private spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Sky, after this conversation, how do you recollect presence? And do you need a rest after giving so much of yourself during this conversation? There are times after I speak to people where I feel very exhausted afterwards. Yeah. I rest. Yeah. I would say there's a part of me that is resting with you now, right? I think that if I came on here with, the intention to just give you a lot of mind stuff, mind matter, and thoughts, then yeah, it would be a lot more tiring. Yeah, Jordan Peterson comes to mind. I'm sure some of you have watched his videos. He's very so many ideas and concepts, and I think that can be quite tiring. So I just try my best to be here in my being, and just speak from my intuition, and enjoy it. And if I'm not enjoying it, then I should cut it short and develop myself more or whatever. But yeah. And then also there is the aspect of the human machine, right? The emotional center, intellectual center. So naturally, I do feel that after doing this, I'll come off. I'll just do something else. I will, I don't know, watch something with my wife. We'll go on a big walk, have some food, listen to music, right? It's important thing to, I think Jay, reminded me of, with his points about, in Gnosis, we call it the kindergarten level, right? That people are on this sort of spiritual merry-go-round where they do psychedelics, they go from school to school, and it's a necessary part of the path, absolutely. But yeah, over time, it's good to also meditate on the fact that we have different levels of being as well, and different centers. So yeah, it's good to, in your practice, do different things. For example, university is really, really, it's not a good way to access your being. I remember it was really, really draining. And I remember I needed, like, after completing my university degree, which was a nice degree, I did philosophy, but still, it was a lot of intellect stuff. I remember after finishing being so excited to put all of the intellectual trash of concepts and ideas just in the bin and just do things to just feel more myself. As most of you know, thoughts aren't us. We have to feel more in our being, connect with our emotions. So I remember after that, I didn't read any books. I learned a lot of instruments. I played music. I just listened to music. I did a lot of sports, physical activities. So yeah, it's something you can meditate on. Do some meditation, do some reading, do some exercise. It's good to balance the different senses of the body. Yeah. One last question. Have you met... Oh, and also, sorry, just to say, the transmutation, there's so many things that enable to have energy. I would say, just at the top of my head, like intuition. Sorry. Yeah. I'll put it down to this. Love for doing all of this, of course, following your passion, intuition of following the things you love to do. But mainly, it's not that I love to do this here and now, talking to all of you. It's that in my daily life, I also follow this love of divinity and do the things that I want to do. You develop a sort of integrity. And then that integrity is very, very easy to shine to others when we've done that harder work of doing the harder practices, especially of dying to oneself and all of this ego stuff. So for me, doing this here is very leisurely, right? And I think that for other people, they might think, or my past self would have thought that that would take a lot of energy. That's like to muster yourself to come up here to answer all these questions. But when you have experience with it and really do a lot of sincere efforts, it's very easy to answer the questions and just enjoy yourself while you're doing it. And then, of course, there's also the aspect of, as I've been teaching, transmutation as well, right? Sexual energy is very powerful. And if you start to be more successful with that, you'll have a lot more energy, mental clarity, less fog, right? But again, as I've said in the past, everyone develops step by step. If you're in that, if you're in that spiritual kindergarten merry-go-round, that's okay. That's where you're at. Do things, follow your intuition, be honest with yourself, and just keep going, and you'll find the right things that you need to do to develop and take the next path, such as Jay rightly said, right? When you're ready, when you feel in your conscience, in your heart, as he also asked, when you feel in your heart that, you know, I should probably stop taking psychedelics now, then do it, right? What are you waiting for? Maybe some of you are really, really new and you've got some intuition too. You know, someone is offering you to go to like an ayahuasca retreat with some cool, like a tribe or something. Okay, then do that too. Everyone should be following their own level, their own path, according to their own feelings about it. And that's the most important thing, right? Don't take anything I say as just like dogma and rigid rules, right? And I can sometimes come across like that, but just recognize that I'm at a certain path or a certain level at my path. And I have some very strict things that I follow from my own being, my own intuition. But you may not be having that too, right? So, as all masters say, just follow your own self. Just stay intelligent and don't self-deceive yourself. You need the virtue of honesty, of sincerity in your heart that that will guide you and that will help you for discerning what's the right thing to do. It sounds a bit complicated. Like, how do you follow intuition? How do I follow all of these things that you know, Gene's saying to follow intuition? Just do it. Just practice it. You know, if you have a feeling in your conscience, like something saying, I should probably do that, do it. Just experiment. Be a scientist. Do it, and you'll see if you stick with it for like a week or 2 weeks, you'll feel so much better, so much more lighter. You'll feel more yourself, right? If you want, I'm not advising you to do this, but then if you want to do that thing for 1 week, for 2 weeks, and then the next after that, do the thing that was the opposite. Go back to the thing that is very painful. Not painful, sorry. Do the thing that you felt that you maybe shouldn't do, right? And then you'll feel the pain, right? You'll feel the suffering and you'll say, okay, now I have self-knowledge. I know this is wrong and I know this is right. And not in a black and white way, but more in a way that me and Jay, we were just discussing everything isn't just black and white. We have to have intelligent discernment and understand why we should do one thing and why we shouldn't do another. It's not, the era we're in now is not about, and I'll probably talk about this at some point on the Zodiac series, the era we're in now is not about following rigid rules. That's why this age is of science, of not just following, you know, oh, God said to do this or do that. It's to become not a material scientist, but a spiritual scientist, to experiment and understand, self-comprehend why we do certain things and why we don't do, and actually have insight and good logical reason as to why we shouldn't do it, and then also experience it, of that I really feel the pain that this causes in others, and if you've suffered enough in your life, you'll know that, okay, it's time to just take this more higher route, this more simple path, and I don't want to create more calmer for myself anymore. I want to become more enlightened, and I will just follow my inner being. So yeah. Anyway, Hashpash, one last question. Have you met feminine female guides of you? Yeah, relating to the Kundalini question. Yes, I've various experiences of the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother is, she can come in many forms. You'll know it's her when she has a sort of aura about her. It's like a beautiful, loving, just, it's like this archetype of a mother, of a Virgin Mary, beautiful Isis goddess that just shines in your face, and you just know it's her. And it's like radiating with love, and maybe she can come to you and just give you her presence. And sometimes, so for example, I had one experience on the Instagram that I made about my astral experiences. I have a picture of her, of one form. She can come in many forms, but I had one where she came and told me, I'm just getting it up for you. She told me about a past life that I had it was like a Mayan or Aztec life. Let me see. Where is it? There we go. And in this astral, she gave me this wooden carved necklace with many skulls on it. And she said to me, you made this in your past life. This is when you were, she didn't say Aztec or anything. In the astral, you can give others mental impressions. You know, instead of saying things, you can see it. And I saw myself making this thing, this necklace, which of course relates to the dying of egos. And what she was basically saying to me is, you've done this work before. You've worked on killing your ego. You've worked on doing this difficult path, and basically just giving me some motivation and say, you can do it, keep doing it, finish the job, you know. So yeah. Gents, I've heard of this notion of building your astral body for astral projection. Yeah, really deep topic, and I should definitely make a video at some point. Can you elaborate more on this building? Yeah. And also, can one astral project without this building? Yes, yes. So, as a general rule, this relates to this Kunda buffer thing. So, I'm going to explain it very simply because I'm going to come off soon. But as a general rule, when we start astral projecting, or when we are born, we have what we call in Gnostic teachings as lunar astral body, which means it's a subconscious body made of our ego. So that's why most of our astral experiences are dreams. Now, we can totally have objective astral experiences, but in the Gnostic teachings, we call this the lunar astral body. Building the solar astral body just means eradicating all of the ego lunar perceptions, dissolving it all, and all that is left is pure awareness. So at the heights of this astral practice, it means that one will remain totally aware of oneself, one's thoughts, one's presence, all day throughout the day in physical life. And when they go to sleep, they will also, the awareness continues. they just come out of their body, they let their physical body sleep on the bed, and they go and explore the dimensions of nature. That's called a solar astral body. You no longer dream, right? That's why I have at the top of that astral dream journal, it says by Samael, true illuminates, or you could say true initiates, true awakened masters do not dream. Dreams are for those who are asleep. Okay, so that's what it means, basically. A solar astral body means someone who has achieved awareness all the time and non-stop. Yeah, and that's very, very advanced. For now, we have this lunar astral energy, and we work with it. We walk the path. We continue, right? And that's also what relates to what I was saying to you, Jay, as well about if we want to go to those real heights, it's anything that kind of brings imbalance is really quite difficult to work with. Yeah. Okay. Maybe one more question, and then I'm going to go. No one question? Shall I go? Really great questions, by the way. I really enjoyed this chat. Yeah, is there anything dangerous about astral projection? Rather than saying astral projection is dangerous. So, simple answer, no. But again, sorry, Jay, I keep mentioning you because it was a good question that relates to a lot of things. Is there anything dangerous about astral projection? No. The only thing that is dangerous is one's own ego. So, for example, if you come out into the astral and then you have so much fear related to something, right? And then you believe so much because you're so identified with it and so caught up in the fear, and you've made this really strong narrative. You believe that this entity is doing this, or you just become so traumatized through fear of your own ego, because fear is ego, then yeah, sure, it's dangerous in that sense. But as a general rule, no. Why? Because we all astral project every single night, unconsciously. As soon as the body goes to sleep, your consciousness, the physical body becomes like a comatose zombie, right? Where are we? We're not in the physical world, we're in non-physical reality. And so, isn't it better to know what is going on at night for 8 hours of our life? That is a third of our life. We should know what's happening, right? We should know the subconscious processes that we're going through, why we feel in certain ways when we wake up. So, yeah, I get that question a lot. Like, is it dangerous? Why should I do it? Well, the answer is why not do it? It's a part of your life. You want to just be asleep in bed, 8 hours a day. It's better to know, right? What's going on. Oh, can you get lost? No, you're always connected to your physical body. You come back all the time. You probably get more lost if you don't practice, which kind of, in a way, we all do get lost with astral projection every night, because we're very sleepy and unconscious, and we're exposed to many forces while we sleep. So, no, you can't get lost, though. And sure, yeah, you could have brought a spirit back to your room, yeah. I guess talking about astral experiences, Someone wants to make a hello. Oh, wants to say hi. Got this little one here. She's called Misa. 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 So I've got two cats now. She's purring. Maybe you can hear her purrs. So a few weeks before I got her, I had a sort of astral dream experience where me and Ini, my wife, me, her, and Monoko, my other cat, we were walking through these paths, many paths, and we lost Monoko. We lost her. We couldn't find her. We didn't know where she had gone. And we were trying to go through these very challenging terrains and obstacles. And eventually, just out of the blue, randomly, this black cat comes, and she guides us through these places to find Monoko. She helps us out of this labyrinth, helps us to find Monoko, and it just felt so right to all four of us with this extra black cat. And before having that, we never discussed about having it. We always said to each other, "No, we're not getting another cat. It's too much." But it just felt right. And a few weeks, so we never discussed, we never planned having a cat. And a few weeks after that, she goes on, she sees online there's a cat for sale near us, and she's a black cat, and we just felt it was right to get a cat, this cat. And also Monoko had been extra needy, kind of giving us sad vibes, and we thought, okay, I think she would also benefit from having a friend. I guess the astral was sort of telling us that she's a good companion for her. She can help Minoko, and also us in some ways. Who knows? Let's see. I've not seen her in the astral yet, but yeah, we have a cat, two black cats. No, she wasn't a street cat. She was on, what is that? Is it Kijiji? Yeah, it's like a website. She just saw there was a cat, black cat on there. Misa, well, we always liked the name miso, like miso soup, Japanese. But then we were like, yeah, but that's a boy's name because miso. But then if you add an A instead, which is more feminine, you get Misa. And we were like, oh, that's a nice name. So we came up with Misa. I think it means, let me see, Misa. I think it means like beautiful child in Japanese. We didn't see it online. We came up with it and then we searched it. Oh, beautiful bloom. That's what it means. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the great questions. It was really good. And I hope it was helpful for others. I have recorded this, so I'll put it probably tomorrow. As you asked, I will take a break from technology and I will record this. I will upload the recording onto the, where is it? The live event videos video for other people. Maybe you joined late and you'd like to catch up. But yeah, this was 4 hours. Time goes fast. So yeah. Yeah, thanks everyone. And yeah, see you soon. Every first Sunday of the month we do this. So in the meantime, feel free to ask other people questions. There are obviously a lot of really good members here that I really admire. They have really good insights and obviously their own experiences as well. So feel free to ask other people questions here in the text chat. And yeah, don't be shy to also, you can use the voice chat at any time if you'd like to talk to other people. And just remember, if you want to ask me a question, just remember to tag me so I see it, because there's a lot of messages and sometimes I lose the I don't see the message. Yeah. So, okay. Thanks, everyone.